It's now 8 o'clock, so I will, it's all right. It's now 8 o'clock. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. If everyone would please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
Republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for being here and joining us with this retreat. And I know it's a wet, rainy day, and thank you, especially those of you that are here in the room with us that came out in this weather to be with us. And I appreciate everything that y'all do for us. And thank all the board members for being here as well. And I will now turn it over to Dr. Maxwell and let her take care of the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Inman. I would like to say good morning and welcome. And yes, it is a rainy morning, but you're all smiling faces absolutely bring out the sunshine. Welcome to part 2 of the board retreat. This is part of the Board of Distinction criteria, and I know that you all work very diligently to achieve that honor, and I'm very proud of you for your dedication and willingness to do that. You have almost met all of the criteria for Board of Distinction. I just want to remind you that there is a self-assessment that board members do, and there are other few pieces of criteria that next week we will look at to see what has not been completed to ensure that you receive that honor. So again, I appreciate the time that each of you devote to this, and you are much appreciated. An overview of our agenda this morning. We will begin with Ms. Kathy Hamby, who is going to give us a departmental overview of the nutrition department. She has some exciting things to share with you. Then we will hear from Mrs. Angela Randolph, our Federal Programs Director, and continuing with Federal Programs functions, Mrs. Sandy Helton will share an overview of Title III functions. Then we will take a few moments to spotlight the part 2 of our school spotlight, how we have adapted during this most unusual year. Our school spotlight, we will hear from Mr. Bo Magnuson, Director of Emergency Management and Security and Attendance Supervisor. And then Dr. Scott Maddox will provide a departmental update regarding grades 9 through 12 and career and technical education. We will take a break from 10:15 to 10:30 this morning. And then when we return, we're going to take you on a virtual field trip. This is exciting. We're trying to, throughout this, I'm sure you've noticed, we have tried to embrace what our very dedicated faculty and staff have had to do during the course of the year. So we have had to do a lot of virtual and remote things. And we'll take a field trip to TEIS, and it is absolutely priceless. I think you will enjoy that. Then Mrs. Barnes and myself will provide a virtual learning update. And then our final presentation will focus, it'll be a high-level overview of the Learning Loss and Student Acceleration Act and the Tennessee Literacy Success Act. Then we will have our 2 distinguished dignitaries, Speaker Cameron Sexton and Senator Paul Bailey will join us for a legislative overview. As soon as they join, even if we aren't finished with the presentation, we will stop what we are doing so they have every second of their time that they make available to us. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Ms. Kathy Hamby. And again, she has some exciting things to share with us this morning. So Ms. Hamby, thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here on this, rainy morning. I'm here just to go over some highlights from the past year, and it's hard to believe, in a way, it seems like it was just yesterday this all began, but then again, it seems like with all the work we've put in, it's been a long time. But yeah, as you know, about this time last year, we were going along, and in our program, we had an exciting year-long, event we were doing with the kids. Every week, we were focusing on a different fruit and vegetable, and we were doing, eating your fruits and vegetables A to Z. And we were focusing on different things. We were able to bring in dragon fruit and eggplant, some things kids haven't really had a chance to sample. And then, of course, everything came to a screeching. Okay, sorry.
Okay, we're on hold for just a second.
Sorry about that. Okay, that sounds better. Okay, and then, of course, everything came to a screeching halt in March when COVID struck our county, schools closed, and USDA, they waived many federal regulations during the pandemic, making it easier to provide meals to the kids, and most of those waivers are still in place. Using the network of partners already established for the summer meals program, our team had a meal program up and operational within 1 day of schools closing. Meal pickup sites were established at most schools and in some more remote areas such as Alloway and Fairfield Glade. We ended up with a total of 43 meal sites. Meal delivery sites were established in areas of high need that could service large populations of kids, such as housing development, income-based apartment complexes, faith-based organizations, and also parks. And as we got ready, this was most definitely a teamwork approach. Community and school partners were key to the success of the meal program. Not only just the cafeteria staff, but also principals, teachers, guidance counselors, bus drivers, central office staff, community leaders, faith-based partners. And I sort of hate getting into a list like that, but I'm sure I don't want to leave anyone out. But on the slides, things like this was going on across the county. Luckily, we had a few staff members that were taking pictures along the way, sort of preserving a little bit of history for us. And in the slides, you can see we had Kelly Smith. She handed out meals. She also, it's her in the upper right-hand corner. Every day, I think she was in the kitchen at Stone Memorial helping them out, getting meals ready. And also, we had banners that was provided to us free of charge, and we were hanging those, trying to designate a meal pickup area at the schools. Then, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Stone Memorial's greenhouse project. Last year, they had a pretty awesome ag program, and they were growing hydroponic lettuce and tomatoes throughout the school year, and we were able to purchase that from the ag department, and any proceeds they received went back into their program, and we paid them what we would have paid our produce vendor. Well, as schools closed, there was no one in the schools, and they had lettuce growing already. So someone from the ag program had contacted us and the greenhouse. And I wish you could have seen the whole greenhouse. Their entire greenhouse was full of hydroponic lettuce. It was just beautiful. But they had contacted us and said if we would go and gather the lettuce, that we could use that in our program. Well, there was so much lettuce, or we had no idea what we were going to do with all the lettuce. And thought, well, you know, if we started giving the parents instructions to, you know, wash it before they eat it, then we could just give out the entire heads of lettuce. So we distributed this among several schools, Cumberland County High School, like Phoenix, a few other schools picked up lettuce, and when parents picked up their weekly meals, not only did they get, this was sort of an extra bonus thing that went into their meals. Also, as we moved through especially the early stages of the pandemic and school closing, TEMA was a huge partner. And so was Mr. Bo Magnuson and the SROs, our local EMA was a big help getting TEMA products distributed to the different schools. And TEMA, was able to supply us with masks, disposable and cloth, also gloves, disposable food trays, disposable food bowls, Ziploc bags, grocery bags, and thermometers. And I do have to throw in a disclaimer, I hate using throwaway, I hate using disposable dishes of any kind. And we had actually gotten to our program, not only were it before, last March hit, when COVID hit in last March, not only were we using real dishes, we had we're able to buy new dishes for all the school cafeterias. A lot of them were still using, I think, the dishes from back in the 70s, that ugly green and tan color, and those old ugly trays. So as we bought new dishes, we were buying yellows and reds, and we would do school colors. So Martin had these really pretty blue dishes, and we had teal trays in some certain schools and yellow trays. So, but with COVID, we did have to transition into using disposable products, and thanks to TEMA, because they are not cheap. And so they provided several deliveries. And when I was first approached by TEMA, they were wanting to know how many, they were wanting sort of an idea, how many cases of gloves, how many cases of food trays. And of course, I'm all about anything that we can get into our program to save costs. That's money that we can use elsewhere for improvements. So I'm like, well, whatever you can send us. Well, I didn't realize they was going to send us a 56-foot trailer truckload that showed up at DCHS, 2 o'clock, I think it was on a Friday afternoon. Luckily, we had lots of help. We were able to use DCHS's cafeteria for storage. They just asked that we get that out before the 1st of July so they could wax the floors. But it was funny. It was a little bit of comic relief in all this, not so much for one of my maintenance guys. But he had called me, he said, it's a 56-foot trailer truckload. And he goes, you gotta see this. He goes, I mean, you really have to come over here and see this. But we were able to actually not only use all those supplies, we've requested additional supplies from TEMA since then. And of course, as we started with the schools closing and different procedures, we not only met our professional development requirements for our cafeteria staff, we exceeded because we had all kinds of new training, new procedures. So it was training, and we had training from the Department of Health. We had training from the state, and as you can see on the presentation, the little red eye-catching flyers were provided to us, and we posted them all around the cafeterias, anywhere we had staff working. And this is just a couple. I think they were 4 altogether. And so just a good eye-catching reminder for our staff what to do to prevent the spread of COVID. And as we began, I said, within one day we were up and running, not really sure if we knew what we were doing, but we knew we needed to take care of the kids and the families. So when we first started, we started using a lot of pre-packaged, either like cold type items or things that they could easily heat themselves, just to try to get into a routine of what we were doing. When we first started, kids were getting the little cartons of milk, and as we were getting meals on Mondays and Thursday, Monday they would get 3 days of meals. Thursdays they would get 4 days of meals. So that was a whole lot of little cartons of milk for families to deal with. Well, our vendors have been amazing through all this, and within a couple of weeks, Mayfield completely shifted gears and started providing half-gallon milk instead of the little cartons. So we were able to give a half-a-gallon milk to every kid on Monday and a half a gallon to every kid on Thursday. And on the presentation on the slides, you can see we have Diane Claflin. On the previous slide, there's Diane Claflin. She helped out at Stone Memorial for our meal distribution program. The middle 5 is Bonnie at Pleasant Hill, and then we have our North group. And not only do their dishes, their real dishes that they were using was red, white, and blue. Their colors are red, white, and blue too. So just trying to add a little bit of fun. Then as we transitioned into April and May, we were sort of getting a routine, sort of knowing what we were doing, so we started trying to add in a few extra special things for the kids. So, the cafeteria staff started making, more homemade meals. And up at the top, you can see that the homemade breakfast, now the biscuits aren't homemade, but they're close to it. But, I mean, the eggs are not just the scramble from the bag, it's the real eggs cracked and scrambled good. But they started trying to do more hot homemade meals for the kids. Homemade parfaits, and as you can see on there, the little food containers, and we'll look at it a little more in the next slide. But at this point, as we moved into April and May, we realized that this was going to be a more long-term, event than we first, first you're thinking, oh, maybe a month and we'll be back in. So the staff were missing the kids were missing school. So, and again, this was going on across the county. We've got a really good photographer at Stone Memorial that would snap a lot of pictures. And but they were writing on top of the food containers, and you can see there, they Tennessee Strong, Smile, Go Panthers, just some encouraging handwritten messages to the kids to let them know that we miss them and hopefully give them a little encouragement during this crazy time. The next slide, you can see a little more with those food containers. It was the idea is we started wanting to do more meals instead of just individually wrapped meals, something a little more that the parents could cook and serve. So we started doing these frozen meals, similar to a TV dinner, but a little bit healthier and a little tastier. But we had these. We sent home 2-page instructions to families on what to do, so families would know how to store the food, cook the food, and a lot on temperature and food safety. So that way we weren't only upholding food safety at the school, we were passing that on to the families. And then we were able to start adding some fun things in for the kids. Of course, the cafeteria staff, they have hearts of gold across the county. They were buying things themselves. They were buying little pencils and stickers and different things to go in the jar, we should say, but they got some suckers and things, everything in moderation. But little things just for the kids. Fuel Up to Play 60 donated a bunch of milk logo items to go in the bag. The Girl Scouts donated hundreds of bags of that included workbooks, crayons, and different things that we could put in the bags and send home with the families. And as we moved through April and May, Second Harvest contacted us, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with Second Harvest, but they're the program that helps with our backpacks that go home with the families on the weekends. Well, with COVID and the concern of spreading it back and forth, those backpacks couldn't travel back and forth to the families. And also, at this point in time, too, in the schools, the only people pretty much at the schools were the principals, the custodial staff, and the cafeteria staff. But Second Harvest had all this food that they were wanting to get home to the families. So we partnered with Second Harvest, and not only did they brought a lot of individually wrapped can-type goods that we could send home, and this is food that's in addition to what we were already providing to the families. They brought these neat, boxes of fresh produce that they had already packed, and this is a picture on the slide of what one of the boxes looked like. I mean, they had everything in there from zucchini to squash and onions and potatoes, just all kinds of goodies that we were able to give families in addition to. And which they delivered them to a few schools. I think there was only 3 schools they actually delivered to, but then we shared with the other schools to get this out to the families. The next slide, Easter Fund. Across the county, we served homemade Easter dinner, and you can see here just a couple of pictures at North. We actually had the Easter Bunny show up at North, and Officer Isles was the assistant Easter Bunny. Then after that, we transitioned into summer. We picked up a few more meal delivery sites over the summer. A couple of the churches had opened up daycares. And you can see that's our summer meal bus. delivering. The next slide, just a couple more fun kid summer, pictures. And as we went through the program, it was so sweet. The kids would, during pickup, would give the cafeteria staff thank you notes and letters. They painted pictures. It was just so sweet. I wish I could have shared them all, but they were just, it seemed like they were just hundreds of little notes. And this one was the heart, just so sweet. The cafeteria staff that received that, I mean, it told them they were the best, that they were their hero. Thanks for all the help. And then, before we knew it was time to start back to school. And as we started back to school, of course, the game plan changed, and it was just such an impressive team effort, as it had been the entire time. Dr. Maxwell wanted to make sure everyone had a seat at the table, but she wanted to make,
We're pausing for just a second. We're going to take a brief moment to work with some audio. It's rainy weather, I think, has brought some technological challenges to us this morning.
It's amazing what you guys did.
Thank you.
Oh, I mean, and what a wonderful thing. I've heard so much, and the kids didn't go hungry, you didn't?
no, they didn't. No, they did not. Okay, I think the microphone might be.
Can those of you at home hear Miss Kathy now?
Can you hear me now? Mr. Sassy, I see you, he's shaking his head, yes, okay, so I'll go ahead and resume. But as we transitioned into school, Dr. Maxwell wanted to make sure we covered all our bases. Again, another team approach, she wanted everyone at the table to make sure we had not only a plan for our department, but everyone was aware of the plan. And then as we worked through the plan, I trained my staff, they took the information back to their schools and worked with their administrative staff to make sure that would, how that would look in their school. But as we continued in school, we continued to provide meals for virtual learners, on weekends, holiday breaks. The meals included both individually wrapped items and bulk meal items. And you can see Miss Lori Crowell at Stone Elementary. This was over our Thanksgiving break where she was packing meals to go home. Then as we worked through the school year, we started trying to get a little more normalcy back into place. We were able to start back our Second Chance Breakfast. We started a brand new Second Chance Breakfast in Crab Orchard, which is amazing how many more kids eat breakfast, the ones that won't eat when they first get at school in an hour, they're starving. So, but we currently have Second Chance Breakfast programs at Homestead North, CCHS, Stone Memorial, and Crab Orchard, and we just started one at Pleasant Hill. And then too, through the year, we try to make things fun for the kids, fun for the staff. By October, we had sort of gotten to the routine again, and they were doing Halloween fun things for the kids. Some staff packed little bags for the kids to take home. We had Halloween desserts, and you can see the South Cumberland, they were our Crayola crayons for Halloween. Then we transitioned into the holidays, where we still served the traditional holiday dinner at Thanksgiving and before we took the break in December. And the cafeteria staff, every year, since I've worked here, every cafeteria, they come up with a food box for a needy family. And it's pretty impressive. They make sure there's hams and turkeys and then everything that you would need to go with that to get to a needy family at their school. And then also at Martin, they did a present drive to go home to a new family at their school. Also, in November, 1st of December, we had the bus meal delivery program, which it was supposed to be 3 days, turned out to be 2 due to the inclement weather day, which was a joint effort. We worked really close with Becky Reed and the transportation department. And then I got you just a little bit of information on PEBT. That's a new thing that Department of Youth Services has ended up with some extra funds that they've been trying to get out to families. It started out to be just a program in the fall, but it's transitioned into the spring semester. And I just had some general information in case you're interested, and I included a website in case you wanted to look into that a little more. But we've just been working close with the Department of Human Services to get kids coded 100% virtual or hybrid, and determine which kids qualify for this additional benefit. And the next slide, we had a big Valentine's dinner at Martin. The cafeteria staff wrote messages to the kids on every cup, and I thought that was probably 500 or 600 cups that they wrote Valentine messages to the kids. And another little thank you that the child had made at the cafeteria staff at Brown for Valentine's Day. And as we continue through this year, we partnered with Coordinated School Health. Pleasant Hill not only has started the Second Chance Breakfast, they have started a Starter Day, the Parfait Way, and making homemade parfaits and promoting milk. And of course, through all this craziness, we've had one goal, and that's helping families, and we do that by making sure that the kids have meals. You can see that from March to May, we served a little over 354,000 meals. June and July, a little over 326,000. And since school has started on August, we've served a little over 1 million meals to the kids in Cumberland County. And then we're going to just keep continuing. Right now, the waivers are in place until June 30th. We're expecting to hear that they may extend those waivers a little further, at least to get us through the summer. But some upcoming events, we're planning on doing Dr. Seuss Day next week, and then we'll be here to help out for summer school and summer meals, just like we have in the past. Just one last little thing I wanted to share. At Pleasant Hill, we had a child make us a recipe. It is called the Pleasant Hill Stinger Pie. It's dates wrapped in bacon, and he loves them. So our cafeteria staff at Pleasant Hill, they're actually going to make this sometime before the school year is over for all the kids up there. But with that said, do you guys have any questions that I can assist with?
Well, Ms. Tandy, we want to thank you. I want to thank you personally. We all know that if a child's basic needs are not met, learning is not going to take place. And you and your staff have gone above and beyond, and just please accept my deepest gratitude and appreciation for what you all have done. And thank you so very much for your support of our children in our district.
And it's our pleasure. We love what we do.
That is,
and that's our heart.
Well, you can tell it's where your heart's at. You know, everybody can. And we really appreciate it. And I mean, over 1 million meals, that's just unbelievable. But yes, I'd like to put my thank you in there as well.
I've always said the cafeteria ladies are awesome. They are.
Thank you.
And gentlemen. I don't know if we have some gentlemen out there.
Okay. Out there too. But thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you, Ms. Handy. Okay, so next we have Ms. Angela Randolph with our Federal Programs Department, and she will give us an overview. I will turn it over to you.
Good morning. My name is Angela Randolph, and I'm the Federal Programs Director for Cumberland County Schools. And this morning, I would like to give you a brief overview of our federal programs department. And I would like to start first with the organization within our federal programs department. There are several components that comprise what we do, which includes funding, Title II, which is how we provide our professional development opportunities. We have English as a second language, the LEA, or Local Education Agency Improvement Plan. We have our McKinney-Vento Homeless Program, and the Family Resource Center. So let's start with funding. The purpose of federal funding is to supplement the Basic Education Program, or BEP. Now, it can be said that there are more guidelines and regulations that are tied to federal funding than the state and local funding combined. So with that being said, within our funding, we have consolidated administration, we have Title I, Title II, Title III, Title V, Title IX, 21st CCLC, and that is 21st Century Community Learning Centers, DISTIC, which is the District Priority School Improvement Grant. We have ESSER 1.0, ESSER 2.0, which we are currently in the application process for, and the LEA Reopening Grant. I would like to go into just a little bit more detail about the LEA Reopening Grant. This was a one-time grant in the amount of $100,000, and the purpose of these grant funds is to reinforce skills and enhance learning opportunities for students in the event that the continuous learning plan had to be implemented and students had to transition into remote learning. So in our district, these funds were used to purchase teacher-designed learning boxes to complement ELA and math high-quality instructional materials for students in grades pre-K through second grade. So this slide actually shows a picture of our learning boxes. The boxes were comprised of different types of tools and manipulatives. So we have the actual storage box itself, and they contained letter tiles, which would help reinforce phonics skills that the students were learning. We had counters to help reinforce math skills. We had whiteboards, dry erase markers. We had other types of writing utensils, number lines, and several flashcards, just several different tools to help them reinforce the things that they would be learning in their classroom. So this slide shows a picture of our central office staff. We had several staff members to volunteer to pack the boxes, and these pictures demonstrate the different stages of the packing process. We also were able to partner with the maintenance department. They volunteered to help us deliver those learning boxes to our individual schools. So now we move into Title II. And again, Title II is how we are able to provide professional development opportunities. And within our county, that includes the mentoring program and the instructional coaching program. Another initiative that we did this year was a partnership with NIET, which is the National Institute for Excellence in Teaching. And this partnership provides leadership training to our school leaders and our teacher leaders within the school. So principals, assistant principals, and teacher leaders have been participating in virtual and in-person training to help facilitate those best practices in leadership that will support student achievement and growth. So the leaders have been spending time exploring and learning different ways to communicate that vision of student achievement and growth with not only district goals, but also individual school goals. Our mentoring program here in Cumberland County has the purpose of providing support to our teachers that may be new to education, so they're brand new teachers. They may be teachers that are new to the district. new to their building, or new to the content or grade level that they are teaching. And currently in Cumberland County, we have 29 teacher mentors. We also have our instructional coaching program. Our coaching program consists of 3 instructional coaches. Rachel Flowers is our technology instructional coach. Michelle South is our ELA instructional coach, which is English language. Currently today, this school year, our coaches have completed 3,687 individual coaching requests. And these coaching requests can be broken down into 850 language arts requests, 1,316 math coaching requests, and 1,521 technology coaching requests. So there are several different ways that these coaching requests are completed. We have our traditional in-person coaching, within which the coach will schedule a time with individual teachers to go and provide the support that is needed individually. We also have Connect with a Coach, which provides a little bit more flexibility, and they are able to connect virtually during the teacher's planning time or before or after school. We also have an opportunity for principals that's called come out and stay at their school all day. The coach sets up in a designated area, and teachers are able to come by on their planning time or whenever it's convenient for them to get the support that is needed. That support may be very informal and just a stop by to say, how can I support you today? Or the principal may have a very specific support that they feel needs to be provided to their teachers that day. And then we also have the district coaches Google Classroom that the coaches created to provide different support for our teachers. It's how-to videos and different resources that the teachers can use as they are providing traditional in-person instruction and also virtual instruction to students. English as a second language also falls under the federal programs umbrella, and Ms. Hilton will be giving you more details about that a little bit later. But within Title III, we have the ESL program, we have the immigrant program, and the migrant program. Federal programs also help with the district LEA improvement plan. The LEA improvement plan helps districts to focus on specific goals that the districts may need. And this is a very general overview of what our district's goals for this upcoming school year are. We want to increase mathematics achievement. We want to increase ELA achievement. And we also want to increase student readiness for college and career. So in order to design more specific goals based on district needs, what we did was divide into focus groups per individual goal. We had an employee advisory group this year in which we gathered feedback. And the reason this is something very different that we did this year in getting feedback from the employee advisory committee, we wanted a very broad range of feedback from several different perspectives. And we asked that employee advisory committee, how do you think, or what do you think that we can do as a district to help have the success that we need to have for our students to increase achievement? And it was a very productive meeting, and we had several wonderful suggestions. We also get feedback from our principal group, and we do this in 2 different ways. First, principals are required to complete a needs assessment. This needs assessment tells the needs that they have for their individual schools, and that this is for the upcoming year as well. And we also have those discussions during preliminary allotment meetings for the upcoming year. Next, we move into the McKinney-Vento Title IX homeless program. The McKinney-Vento Act was reauthorized in 2015 by ESSA, which is the Every Student Succeeds Act. And this guarantees educational rights and support for students experiencing homelessness, including very specific support for students that are classified as unaccompanied youth. The term homeless children and youth means individuals who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence, and this could include several different types of living arrangements. The McKinney-Vento Act also defines unaccompanied youth as a homeless child or youth not in the physical custody of a parent or guardian. So to be classified as an unaccompanied youth, two criteria must be met. First, they must be classified as homeless, and then not in the physical custody of a parent or legal guardian. And the Cumberland County Board of Education has a very specific policy addressing this, 6.503. Provides programs based on the individual needs of including things like food, clothing, Christmas gifts, family, a wonderful Christmas gift program has a household and, limited position, then we can step in and help out with that. Next is our 21st Century CCLC program. This is our extended learning program, and the purpose is to provide students with opportunities for academic enrichment, youth development, and family support during non-school hours. So what's very unique about this program is we are required to provide at least 12 hours minimum before and after school. So some schools may provide an hour before school and 2 hours after school. It just depends on the needs of the students at that individual school. Now, I would like to explain these pictures. On this slide, you have pictures of students that are handling snakes. That was a program provided by the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency. And we have Eddie the Eagle. We have the fire department that is doing a program with fire safety. And then at the bottom, students visiting the aquarium. But what is very important to note about these pictures is these were things that we were able to provide, opportunities that we were able to provide pre-COVID. So these were some of the activities that students were able to complete last year before we had our closure in March. So the next slide actually shows some of the activities that we are able to do during this COVID pandemic. So the first picture shows students participating in a slimy science experiment where they're creating ooblets. And the next one, they're doing an activity with creepy crawly spiders, catapulting the spiders into webs. So it provides experiences for the students that they may not necessarily be able to get during regular core instruction. This provides those enrichment activities. So that concludes the overview of federal programs. However, if you will indulge me for just a few more moments, I would like to explain a small portion of our federal programs monitoring requirements that we are required to complete every year. So each year, attendance clerks actually participate in a special training on the identification and coding of our protected student classes. That includes homeless, ESL, migrant, and immigrant students. While training Board of Education members is not a requirement for federal monitoring, I would love for this to become a best practice that's specific to Cumberland County Schools. A little bit later, Ms. Kelton again will be providing you more details on the very specific programs. So I'm going to concentrate specifically on the identification of these protected student classes. Again, we are going to start with the McKinney-Vento definition of homelessness. So the Every Student Succeeds Act, reauthorized, and it defines homeless children and youth as individuals who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence, which includes children and youth who are sharing the housing of other persons due to the loss of housing, economic hardship, or another similar reason. They could be living in motels, hotels, trailer parks, or camping grounds due to the lack of alternative adequate accommodations, or they could be living in emergency or transitional shelters, or possibly abandoned in hospitals. It can also include children and youth who have a primary nighttime residence that is a public or private place that's not designed or ordinarily used as a regular sleeping accommodation. It could include children and youth who may be living in cars, parks, public spaces, abandoned buildings, substandard housing, bus or train stations, or similar settings. And this could also include migratory children who are in those same situations that I previously mentioned. So I have included a snapshot of the Cumberland County Board of Education policy. This is not the entire policy, this is just a snapshot of the very front page. But a very key term to our policy is a homeless student shall have equal access to the same free, appropriate public education as provided to other children and youth. So again, our policy takes the same wording as the McKinney-Vento Act actually provides. So now I'm going to move into the identification process. So first of all, we follow our Board of Education policy. At the very beginning of the year or upon enrollment, we provide all students with a student residency questionnaire. Now, if the student is a non-native English speaker, we can provide the student residency questionnaire in the student's native language. So we have all students fill out this residency questionnaire. It's turned back in, and the attendance clerk reviews the questionnaire. Based upon the information received, the attendance clerk will determine if the student meets the homeless criteria. If the students do meet the homeless criteria, or if the attendance clerk cannot make that determination and needs additional support, then our homeless liaison, Lisa Phillips, is contacted by that attendance clerk. Once we determine that the student does meet the criteria for homelessness, then in Skyward, each student is coded specifically. Lisa Phillips here at Central Office keeps a copy of the student residency questionnaire as well as the home school. And once that determination is made, Ms. Phillips also reaches out to the family to see what additional supports may be needed. And so the next slide goes into our foster care policy, which sort of piggybacks off of some of the same things that we provide within our homeless policy. Again, the key statement is the Cumberland County School System shall provide all students in foster care, to include those that may be awaiting placement in foster care, with a free and appropriate public education that is extended to all students. So again, we enroll immediately. We do not shield enrollment to wait on paperwork that is normally required. We enroll first, and then we provide support to the family to help them get the needed documentation. And with foster care, we also have something that's called a bid meeting. Sometimes students that are being placed in foster care may start the year at one school, and then because of whatever circumstances arise, the family that they're being placed with may not be in that same school zone. If that is the case, we have what is called a bid meeting, which is a best interest determination meeting. And so the DCS caseworker, along with our foster care point of contact, which again is Ms. Phillips, and the administrators from one or both schools and the parents, decide what is in the best interest of this child. If it is determined that it is in the best interest of the child to go to their newly zoned school, then we provide support to make that happen. And if it is decided that it is in the best interest of the child to remain in their school of origin, which is the school that they originally started the school year in, then we can help to provide support and provide and create a transportation plan to make that happen for those students. And then we move into our ESL program and how we identify our ESL students. So upon initial enrollment in school, it could be pre-K, kindergarten, or new students transferring to our district that has only sent home upon initial enrollment, we will have the students and the families fill out a home language survey. If on that home language survey, anything other than English is listed, the attendance clerk will review that, will notify the ESL teacher, and send that home language survey to Ms. Helton here at Central Office. Ms. Helton will review the information. She will schedule our WIDA screener, and depending on the scores that the students receive on that screener, placement is decided in the ESL program. If the student does indeed qualify to receive services through our ESL program, then Ms. Helton will code that student appropriately in Skyward, and the student will start receiving services. And then we move into our migrant program. And in coding migrant students, every year upon enrollment, every student every year will receive an occupational survey. We have the families to fill this survey out, turn that into the school, and again, the attendance clerk is key in reviewing the information. If anything on the occupational survey is marked yes, then that occupational survey is sent to Ms. Helton here at Central Services. Ms. Helton reviews the information, uploads it to the Tennessee Migrant Database. They determine if the students meet the criteria to qualify as migrants, and if the determination is made that yes, they do qualify, then they will send a certificate of eligibility, and Ms. Helton will code that appropriately in our Skyward student database. And the last group that I'm going to talk about this morning is our immigrant group. Upon enrollment and looking at the registration form that each student is required to fill out, if a country other than the United States is listed as the birth country, the way the immigrant students are coded in Skyward is we have to ensure that the birth country and the date that the student actually first entered a school in the United States is listed accurately. So that is entered by the attendance clerk, and then we do a review of student records to make sure that that information is accurate. So that concludes the training that the attendance clerks receive annually. Does anyone have any questions? That's a lot of work.
How many students do we have within these categories, just off the top of your head?
Okay, I can tell you that information, but that is actually a part of Ms. Helton's presentation. So you're going to be receiving that information in just a few minutes. I do not want to.
It's like a cliffhanger there. I got away. Okay.
Any other questions?
Sorry.
Thought you were just getting ahead.
Okay, well, thank you, Ms. Randolph. I appreciate your presentation very much. So moving forward, Ms. Sandy Helton is our Title III director, and she works under the federal program's umbrella. And one of our special populations in this area. So Ms. Helton, good morning, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Maxwell. Good morning. I'm Sandy Helton, and I'm the Title III Director and Countywide Instructional Facilitator. I'm going to share with you an overview of the Title III, which ESL, migrant, and immigrant students fall under the Title III umbrella. First, we will begin with English as a Second Language, ESL. ESL is a program that provides English learners with vocabulary and language skills necessary to be successful in society. An English learner is a non-native English speaker. In our district, we serve 128 English language learners, which we refer to as EL. Transitional student, and a transitional student is a student that's already exited the ESL program, but they must remain monitored for federal monitoring for 4 years. All of our students in the district that are in the ESL program are served by a certified ESL teacher, and they provide instruction in the 4 domains of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Cumberland County's ESL program follows State Board Policy 3.207. During virtual learning, I had the opportunity to visit with many ESL teachers in the district through their Zoom classes, which this was an opportunity I really enjoyed. Since sometimes I don't always get out to the school, I try to get there to visit as much as I can. But Zoom, I could just pop right in and see what was going on in the class. So we have a video clip that's going to play. This is Miss Christina Turner, 6th and 7th grade student at Martin Elementary. So this will kind of give you a little glimpse of what goes on in ESL.
Again, thank you for your patience. It must be the rain. Major technical difficulties of no one's fault.
It's a school. There's one school. We use all. Or when we talk about anything more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 100. We use are. There are dogs in the neighborhood. You can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 dogs in the neighborhood. We have a very, very short video, a few seconds, but it's going to help us practice with is and are. Here we go.
There are. There is a boy in the park. There is a child in the park. There are boys in the park. There are children in the park. There is. There is. There are. There are. There is no. There are no. There is no monster in the park. There is no flower on the hat. There isn't a flower on the hat. There are no flowers on the tree. There are no monsters in the park. There aren't 7 big monsters in the park. Is there? Are there?
All right, we're going to stop right there. I told you it was very short. And we're going to go to our next page in our packet. It looks like this. Please go ahead and turn over. Good job. We're going to practice using there is and there are. Remember, we use there is for one thing. We use there are for more than one. Take a look at number 1. There is a school in my neighborhood. We use there is because there is one school. Let's look at number 2. Blank streets in my neighborhood. I look at the picture, I see 1, 2, 3. I need to use there are. So let's put that here. There are streets in my neighborhood. I use are when there's more than one. I'm going to give you some homework today because it's time for me to go to my.
That was just a short video clip of what teachers do in the ESL classroom, which is very rewarding. As well as the Tennessee State Standard. In our district, ESL teachers provide professional development on the WIDA standards each fall to the classroom teachers. ELs receive instruction in small groups through pull-out instruction. Sometimes we do push-in, but this is on a very limited basis. The preferred method is small groups. In our district, teachers are going to begin doing the annual WIDA growth and the language proficiency of each student. The reports tell us how our students are progressing in their language acquisition and development. Migrant education. Migrant students are students who parents move often due to work in like agricultural and fishery, some in an area similar to that. Each year we ask the families to fill out an occupational survey, and we process those surveys here at the district. As Angela told you a little bit earlier, we send them on to the state and they tell us the classification of the student. And the reason this is important because we offer these students extra support due to their educational being disrupted from frequent moves. And then we have immigrants. We also have less than 10 migrant students in our district. Immigrant students are students who were not born in the 50 states, the District of Columbia, or Puerto Rico. This information is kept on file in Skyward, and it remains part of their student record as long as they're in school. So this includes my presentation on Title III, and I'll turn it back over to you, Dr.
Thank you, Ms. Hilton. It was a joy to see those kids, to get an idea of our English learners learning from home through virtual and how engaged they were with their teacher. So that's wonderful. So thank you very much. The next part of our presentation is our part 2 of our school spotlights. And today we have 6 of our schools that you will be viewing. And so I will begin with South Cumberland Elementary. And you first see 2 pictures there. You see masked readers sitting at their desk with their books. And then in the lower left-hand corner, you see a young lady who is sitting beside a student who they are reading buddies. And this is a program that Ms. Hall and her staff have initiated. And on the next slide, you'll see some more masked readers. And it says, in an effort to close gaps for COVID, South started a Reading Buddies program. A large number of their students enter their building at 7, and this is a great time to engage students before the regular school day starts. We paired students from 6th through 8th grades with students in kindergarten through 2nd. Each kindergarten through 2nd grade teacher has 2 reading buddies that go to their classroom in the morning. Students take turns reading to their reading buddy, or their reading buddies can read to them. It has been a positive for both groups of children. Reading buddies help them take AR test, which is Accelerated Reader Test, which is a supplemental program, which is something that usually takes a great deal of time to teach first graders how to do, but they catch on very, very quickly. Ms. Hall says that since we started, both teachers and students have loved the experience. She has created a website that updates daily with the class, the grade, and the school data, so that she can see how many minutes they're reading, how many books they've read. They set goals to strive for, and they have reward days when they have accomplished these goals. And that's, they had a reward pajama day because they had achieved a specific goal. We are currently focusing on words read, and we celebrate our millionaire readers. Research shows that more exposure to written words increases vocabulary and background knowledge. And that is so true, because research does show that the more a child reads, obviously, the better they become. And it's like riding a bicycle. You have to, when you're first learning to ride a bicycle, you get on, you fall off, you skin your knees, you may have to pick out some gravels occasionally. I know I had to. But it's something that you just have to get back on that bicycle and keep doing. So they definitely have a love for reading at South Cumberland. Our next spotlight is...
Mr. Safty's got a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Safty.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't mean to interrupt too long, but are you all considering monetizing this into an adult program to link up with these children, maybe even on Saturday morning, secondary instruction for the K through 3, so they have reading hours? And we're talking about a $6.7 million, possibly a $6.7 million grant. And it seems to me like this is a wonderful program. Reading buddies.
We are definitely taking a lot of things under consideration. It seems like right now there are so many grants coming at us. I sometimes feel like we're dodging a meteorite shower.
You have my
or a meteor
complete
shower.
empathy. I understand.
But no, but Mr. Safety, that's a great idea. And that's something, hopefully, as we move forward, you know, and our world continues to improve, and we are able to allow our visitors and volunteers back into the building, that can be something, even if that grant's not pursued, that's something we could incorporate into our programming with after-school programming and some of the other grants that are coming through. So thank you for sharing that very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, so our next spotlight is Miss Kelly Smith from Stone Memorial High School, and this is how they adapted at the beginning of the year. They actually had 20-something different clips that they created to help inform students and families of all of the things taking place at Stone Memorial High School at the beginning and things that they would see during the school year. They created clips regarding the safety and the mitigation of COVID. They created clips regarding the procedures that they would be following. Very innovative, and these are things that the students and families could go back and review, which is also very helpful. So we're going to listen to Ms. Smith's welcome to her students.
Good morning, Stone Memorial High School Panthers. I am Kelly Smith, your principal. We are so happy you're with us today. It's been quite some time since we've all been together like this. This school year is going to present new challenges for each and every one of us. We need everyone's cooperation as we learn new procedures and routines. Everyone needs to work together to stay healthy throughout the year. I hope you have a good morning, and I look forward to seeing you in the hallways this year. Have a great day.
So that is just one fine example of what they did at Stone Memorial High School, excuse me, to welcome their students and inform their student body and the families. Our next spotlight is Pleasant Hill Elementary. And this first slide, it says smiling behind the mask. And if you can see the eyes, you can see that they welcome students with smiles, even though they were masked. And on the next slide, as this clip plays, I'm going to give you a little bit of background because the volume and she is working with her class. And if we could see behind her, you would see her computer screen, excuse me, where she has all of her students logged in and they are reviewing a lesson. And so if you had been in a building during a remote learning day, this would have been a very common sight. Again, I know we can't say it enough, and I know sometimes the more you say things, the less meaningful they may seem, but it is meant every time how much our educators have gone above and beyond during this very challenging year. I think we've really had a lot of opportunities to shine. The next slide we have is a spotlight of Homestead Elementary. And they came up with some very creative ideas to keep students safe. And these were called special area bags. And what these were, the special area teachers worked with the PTO to put together bags that students could take to each class with them that allowed quality instruction to continue, but it reduced the need for shared materials and cleaning. So each student had their own bag to take with them, and it was color-coded. I believe the blue was 3rd grade. So obviously, you know, if a bag, and of course it had their names on them. But this was a very clever way to help with the mitigation and to stop the spread of COVID-19 while still allowing our students to have the supplies that they needed during this time. So kudos to them for this ingenious idea. Okay, next we have Crab Orchard Elementary. And Crab Orchard Elementary had several different ways that their school year was transformed, obviously to meet the new normal that we were all experiencing. And one of the many things that they did, Ms. Beatty and her staff worked together to reschedule playground times, which would allow plenty of social distancing and the opportunity for students to enjoy being outside. Not only is it good just for the kids to be able to get out and have fresh air, but to be able to play, to relax, to relieve some of the pressures of the day. They also worked with each other with the Chromebooks. They each had their own Chromebook, and the Chromebooks traveled with the students. This reduced the touching of Chromebooks, obviously, to reduce any potential spread, and the students really enjoyed that. On the next slide, we have Pineview Elementary. And Pineview Elementary, because of obviously the restrictions that we were under and are continued to be under, Ms. Kara Spicer did an open house tour for the families. And you will listen and you will see how she made the families feel welcomed, the students feel welcomed and safe. And this is a really good clip of what they did at Pineview.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to take a few minutes to welcome you all back for another school year and to let you know that even though there are some changes this year, everything is on schedule, and we're excited to have all of our students back. And we wanted to go over some of the changes that we made this year for the safety and health of our students. And we're going to do that in just a few minutes. But first, I just wanted to talk to our students for a second. Pineview Pioneers, we have missed you. There's nothing else that you remember from this video, then I want you to remember two things. We are so excited to have you back with us in the building. We can't wait to have you in class. Teachers have been preparing for you for weeks, and we have everything in place to ensure that your school is off to the start as possible. And the second thing that I want you to remember is that Pineview is a safe place. All of these things to keep you healthy and safe for this year, and we just cannot wait to be back in the building. Now, there are some things that are different, and we're going to talk about those for just a second. When you come into the building, you will be wearing masks or face shields, and I'm going to show you a couple of those. We have masks available for students and teachers, and we'll have those on. And it's going to look a little bit different, but that's okay. We're going to get used to that, and everybody's going to be fine with that. You may see, instead of you may see them with a shield. So this is my shield, and you can see that even though I have my shield on, I can still talk to you. And I just wanted to let you see that and let you know that you may have that on when you're in the building. Now, there are some changes that you're going to do as we go throughout the building and your classrooms, but these are for your safety and to keep you as healthy as possible through the year, but still allow us to learn and grow together this year. Minutes. One of the things that you notice about this year is that we have marked on the floor.
So the sound quality right now is not working with us, but what you see, Ms. Foster took a field trip through the building, and she is showing the students the little stickers that are on the floor, the spacing. She talks about how that in the cafeteria they'll be spaced out. And talks about how they will be spaced out, and she actually had color-coded stickers when I visited at the very beginning of the school year. Here she talks about their multi-purpose room. They have set this up for lunch, and you can see the tables that she has set up and the chairs for socially distanced, which still allow the children to be able to travel while keeping them safe. I don't know if we can go back to this last part and be able to hear what she's saying.
You'll be able to enjoy gym activities. Your gym teacher, PE teacher, is going to be cleaning equipment between classes, so you don't have to worry about the class before you, and we try to keep everything as clean as possible. Along those lines, our custodians, Ms. Dottie and Ms. Thelma, work tirelessly all the time, but they are going to be spraying every classroom every night with a machine that was purchased by the county to keep our rooms especially clean during all of this. And so you can be assured that when you walk into your classroom each day, you're walking into a nice, clean environment that has been sanitized and sterilized for the evening. So we hope that all of this helps you to understand that even though there's changes, you might see a mask, a shield, or dots on the floor, we're still going to be about the business of educating you and enjoying time at school. And there's nothing for you to worry about. Parents, we're doing our very best to keep them safe. Nurse Christy is on top of all the protocols, and we'll be keeping up with all of that as the year goes on. So once again, we're so excited to have you back with us, and we look forward to a wonderful year here at Pine.
So this is just what each and every school did to try to reassure families and students that they are definitely at the center of our focus. And I think everything that you've heard last Saturday and this Saturday, I hope exemplifies that we are student-centered. That is our work. And the examples, I mean, we could go on for days of the examples of everyone that has put in extra effort during the school year. So now what we are going to do, we will transition to Mr. Bo Magnuson. He is the Director of Emergency Management and Security and the Attendance Supervisor. And I will turn the microphone over to you, Mr. Magnuson.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Maxwell. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and excited to be able to provide you with a brief overview of some of the things that we do in our department. We're starting. Our slide there is towards the end. We need to move back towards the beginning. I'm not sure. Here we go. All right. Our first slide there gives you an indication of several of the things that we deal with within our department, the things that we manage. So as you go to the next slide here, we'll start breaking it down a little bit more specifically. Our Student Information Systems Administrator, Kim Herring, handles a lot of these aspects, and we talked about just a lot of different softwares and a lot of different data that we keep up with. Some of the things that you'll see are that we're in our department doing the district testing, coordination of all that goes on with our district testing. That includes training, building testing coordinators as well, testing logistics and inventory. We house that here at Central and very, very tight controls on that to ensure fidelity within the testing that we do. Scheduling and data input and analysis kind of falls into that as well. Skyward, I think you've all heard of Skyward, and that is our database for all Cumberland County schools. That's where everything is housed, from grades to food, nutrition. I think just a lot of different things that goes into that database is all handled through the Skyward programs. Also, management of student and teacher use of programs such as the Renaissance programs, SchoolNet, Think Central, HMH Study Sync, Amplify CKLA, Clever, and Naviance are all some examples of student and teacher programs that we manage through our department. Additionally, management of teacher administration use of programs, EasyCBM, the National Student Clearinghouse, which has to do with transcripts, Orion, EIS, or state databases that we utilize, the TVOS, the Tennessee Value Added Assessment System, Planbook, Pearson Access Next, which involves ACT testing and other testing as well. All of the Skyward messages, if you receive those go through our department. Also, we train at the individual school levels so that they can make messages as well. And we coordinate the homeschool programs that some in our communities choose to go. And obviously, we've had a little bit of that this year with the COVID. All right, next slide, we'll talk about some of the day-to-day stuff that I couldn't make it without Miss Faith Ashton. She's a jack of all trades to help us and support and all of the things that we do, as well as she assists in other departments as well. We all try to chip in up here. We currently have someone out for medical, so we're all trying to rotate and help each other out. So she's always willing and able to help that. But one of the biggest things she does probably on a daily basis, aside from the attendance stuff that I'll get to in a minute, but the EIS and Skyward troubleshooting, that is directly related to our funding. So she gets error messages and things that she has to go through and correct and fix all of those things so that we ensure that our funding is correct and appropriate. So that's something that we do in our department as well. We provide district-wide database support for all Cumberland County Board of Education employees, students, and parents. Like we mentioned, the Skyward, every single email account for our students, our staff, our teachers, every single one of those is assigned to our department. We work with the Safe Schools, that's our training that all of our staff have to go assisting with the HR department with that. All exiting and the proper things are done there. Management of student records, I wish I could see that picture a little bit better, but that's down in the basement. There's rows and rows and rows of filing cabinets that some have a little more rust on them than others, if you know what I mean. There's some, and it's really kind of neat. She has found things as far back as the 1920s down there, and sometimes that stuff still comes available or comes necessary to find. She was helping a gentleman the other day with something about he had to have his transcript. I don't remember the date. It was back in quite a while, but to help him get his passport or something, I'm not sure. So we keep track of all that, and she's done a fantastic job getting that organized and keeping it and maintaining it. So transcripts are very important. We'll come back years later, people will need something, and we have all of that stored. We kind of manage that as well. Assisting and training of attendance clerks, and I just want to take this opportunity to give a shout out to our attendance clerks. They do not only they do so many things on a daily basis at each of the schools. They work so hard. They take their job so seriously, and it's very, very hard. It's very, very difficult, especially under work so hard on getting kids to school and fighting those battles that we're currently fighting. But they take it so seriously and they do such a good job. So I wanted to make sure that we pointed that out. But we assist in training them and some of the things that we do through us, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. That's one of the many things that we do. As I already mentioned, homeschool. Every single student that we unfortunately lose to homeschool comes through. They still have to, we still monitor that and have some requirements that we follow. And I'll tell you, we obviously battled that this year. We've had a lot that have gone to homeschool, but we went for a life after trying. I share an office right next to Faith, and I could hear her daily. Are you sure you want to do that? We're going to get this figured out. We're going to figure out what we're going to do. We're going to have a virtual option. We tried so hard, and that helped a lot of them. But anyway, that's another part of it. And of course, she does all of our bookkeeping, and for the Safe Schools counselors, for myself, for student information systems. All right, next slide. Gives you a little, this is enrollment numbers as of February the 3rd. And if you'll notice, you'll see that pretty steep spike there. But that's roughly 500 students. I think it's 485 students that we saw of our enrollment as of that date change between 1920 and the 2021 school year. And that's something that we're obviously going to work hard to get them back as we all progress through COVID. Our next slide talks about some of our homeschool enrollment numbers, and you'll see that that's where a great majority of those numbers went from enrollment. We did lose some to homeschooling. The difference here, what you see are the blue are your category 4 church-related umbrella schools. Typically, these may be your school, they would pay for these type of schools, and they may be accredited. So that's what the blue numbers indicate, which obviously that's where the majority of those students went. The orange, on the other hand, is what we call independent homeschool, and if you're not familiar with that, that's where a parent or guardian takes full control of their education. They create their own curriculum, they create their own schedule, they do everything. And we also, obviously there, we have a slight increase there as well. So, excuse me, that's a good portion of where those students went. All right, on our next slide here, I want to talk about this. This is our chronically absent percentages. And I want to focus first on the numbers between 1920 and 2021. As you'll see that what appears to be a 3-year trend there, and I'll get to that in a minute. But first, let's focus on the 1920 to 2021 gap there. As you can see, we did have basically a point increase in chronically absent students from last year to this year. And I'm just going to say, any chronically absent student, we don't want that. But considering the obstacles that we face this year, pandemic, you may or may not know, our courts, we're not allowed to the Tennessee Supreme Court has closed the court, so we've not been able to utilize that as what we normally would to help us with our absenteeism, with our truancy. So a 1 point gain, considering this, I think we're doing pretty good. And any of them are too many, but definitely want to, once everybody will get the support back in the courts and all of this changes, hopefully we'll see that number trend back down. Now, let's step back to the 1819 and the 1920 there. Don't want you to be alarmed about the growth here. Back in the 1819 school year, you may or may not know this, but we started seeing an increase in chronically absent because that was about the time period when we started being held accountable for excused absences as well. And I don't know if you know that, but we're held accountable for excused absences now. And anytime they go beyond 18, that counts against us as well, and if they're excused. So that's easy to understand with unexcused, but now, quite honestly, if a student has 18 excused absences, and every one of those are medical, and once they go to 19, they're chronically absent, and we take a hit on that.
So if a student has a, heaven forbid, a 4-wheeler accident, breaks his leg, has to have surgery, and he's out for 19 days in the hospital, he's still considered chronically absent.
We get dinged on that. We could use your help. And I've spoken many times to places on that. I mean, the example that I use is, God forbid, a child that's going to cancer treatments or whatever, if they have 18 excused days, that still counts against us. And that's when they started changing their terminology from chronically absent to chronically out of school. And I don't know where that came from. I don't know what the drive behind that is, but so we did start seeing a little bit of an increase there in chronically absent. Kind of swallow that bill there. That makes sense. All right. Moving on to our next slide there, I can't say enough about this program and what y'all done to help us support this and grow this program. I wish we could double our personnel in this right now because we could use it in our schools. As y'all, if you remember the day, most of y'all probably remember poor Scott Holes out there running around to 12 schools trying his best to provide those mental health supports, and we're blessed now to have 3 of them, Scott, Brianna Van Winkle, and Eric Cantrell. They do a fantastic job. I'm absolutely honored to have them in our department. I think they do help us provide. They do. We'll kind of go through it a little bit here and tell you, but I can't say enough good things about them and what they do. But so obviously they provide mental health counseling services to our students. They respond to emergency and urgent situations. That happens, quite a bit, as well as ongoing individualized counseling to students that have requested those services. So they have that daily going on. They'll move between their schools. They're seeing students that have requested those services, but then in the middle of that, I'll make a call up, or school may call up. issue it may be, and then when that transition a little bit more smooth. So they can, he can be one of our students, if let him coming back, it can be students, it can be from the facility, it can be another county. Additional things that they do, they're involved in support them as well. Development of various mental health, our meet, situations. 281 school and staff consultations, and that doesn't mean that you've got that many staff that are, they may talk to them to get information about anything. They can sit down with them or talk to them before they start working with them and saying, you know, hey, what can I, and I want to say this, and I talked to my staff about this, and they said it was okay for me to say this, but these numbers, you know, are probably a little lower than normal. We, in this current situation, didn't have ordinance. And self-harm, self-destructive behaviors, they can help us substance, anxiety, PTSD, some things that come out of COVID as a result of this as well. So we'll see where that goes. Threats, I can't tell you how important that is. When we start evaluating a situation to determine, you know, a threat situation, they bring a vast amount of knowledge and experience to help us make good decisions. And that's another big, sudden change in this, they're involved in that. Conflict resolution, you can see some of those. Other issues there, board attendance, they can help with that. So they do a lot of different things, many different things they're involved with, and can't thank them enough. All right. Next slide. And it's tough when it was tough before COVID, and with our not being able to use the courts and things like that, we're just amping up what are other efforts that we can do to try to help the schools. And you'll notice there are some of the things we have in our Trinity home visits. I myself have done 162 home visits this semester. I mean, that's a lot. This is a big county. And that's just what I've done. The principals are going sometimes, our SROs are helping as much as they can. I go with the principals sometimes. We're doing everything we can to try to get out there, beat the bushes, and let them know it's gonna be okay. I wanted to share with you something. I shared this at an attendance conference, last year, and I mean, you would have thought I had the neatest thing in the world, but I don't think y'all can see these. These little door hangers that I have created, and they're in English, they're in Spanish. These make a big difference. But when we leave these on the door, and it basically just tells them, hey, we're here, your child's been reported as a truancy issue, need you to contact our office. You'd be amazed at how effective those have been. People will call and they don't like them, and so they'll usually typically call. Another thing that I've been doing with Ms. Holden, trying to help her, because a lot of the kids that have gone to homeschool, there's a lot of paperwork that she has to get signed, whether they're going to continue services or not. And so she and I'll go out, or I'll go out for her to get paperwork signed. Well, we could have made a little sticker that we stuck on the back of some of them, and we stick that, and that basically notifies them to contact her for some paperwork concerns or issues. So that's just a couple of little things that we do. Truancy court, just if you do or don't know, that's the first step in the truancy process, where we meet at the court. We used to, we haven't been doing it right now, but we used to meet over in the courts. There is no judge involved at this time. This is between me, some of my staff, and the juvenile court officers. We meet, make them sign kind of an informal agreement that they're going to make the attendance better. If that does not work, and they can continue to misbehave the child in front of the judge, and it gets a little more serious at that point. The judge have with our juvenile court officers is by 100%. I think that's where a lot of that came from. We were already doing it before the tears came, but that relationship knew we had done a tremendous amount of it. So at that point, the judge will put them on what he calls a valid court order. Now you're court ordered to go to school. You know the law, you're still now he's court ordered, you go to school. And if that doesn't work, then that's unfortunately when people start going to jail. Parents have been sent. Assessments, we, assist the back to schools up if they need us, if they've got a situation. We go out and we knock on the doors and help find, people that are not showing school if they have mental health concerns. We get involved with that. Save Act compliance, that's another thing. I work very, very closely with the local EMA and other agencies as well, but coordination with them and our fire departments, and that's one of the things they're doing with us right now is they're coming out and helping us with some of our fire drills and tornado drills. They're using it to help achieve some certification as well, but they're also coming out and we discover things when you run through those situations and you find out if we pile kids across this parking lot and that's where the fire trucks are coming in, and we need to know those things, and that's working closely with them. It's been very, very, very good. Do that in our department as well, and that is what I have.
Magnuson?
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes,
Those enrollment numbers are very alarming to me as a teacher, because when we lose kids, we lose teaching jobs. So what is the plan to get kids back in public schools? Because it's not just COVID, some of it is negative news media, putting public schools in a bad light.
okay.
So do we have a plan in Cumberland County Schools?
We've been talking about that we're gonna have to do some public service announcements. We're gonna have to do some at the individual schools, we're gonna have to reach out to those kids and to those families and provide them with reassurance that, hey, we're doing everything we can do. We want you back. We, like I said, we started when they were starting to sign out, so, I mean, Ms. Craig would, you sure you want to, hey, we're gonna get this figured out, you gotta stick with us, and so, yeah, I think it's very important that we communicate, via public service announcements, individually the schools can come up with some ways to communicate with those families and encourage them, so, yeah, that's definitely something we're thinking about as well, because I hear you.
We do not. We do not last within.
Thank you, Mr. Magnuson.
I think
Or, I'm sorry.
Saturday,
Oh, I'm
that's
sorry.
what-
Mr. Sass.
Impressive. Thank you for that presentation.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
You were just saying, I was waiting for a question. Thank you very much for the time on that. We appreciate it. We work hard.
Okay, so transitioning now, we have Dr. Scott Maddox with an overview of the 9 through 12 instructional component of our district, as well as the career and technical education. And with Dr. Maddox and our schedule, we may get through part of his, and then we will take a break, and then we will pick up when we come back from the break with the remaining of his presentation. So Dr. Maddox, we will go ahead and let you begin. I apologize, but this is out of everyone's control. We are having technical issues, and it is no person's fault. It is, I'm going to blame the weather right now. So, Dr. Maddox.
Well, good morning, everybody. Of course, I'm Scott Maddox. I am in charge of the 9 through 12 supervisor and also CTE director here in Montgomery County. It's a pleasure being with you this morning. I know on a rainy Saturday morning, no one else has anything to do. So yeah, I look forward to sharing some great things that are going on within the CTE department. Now, I'm getting some feedback there. Is everything okay? Can everyone hear me? Okay, the first slide that we have here is just an introduction of the staff here with the Career and Technical Education Department. Of course, I'm the director, and we have Ms. Robbie Castile, who is our coach. And also a new addition to our staff is Ms. Amber Farmer, who's taken the place of Dr. Leslie Eldridge as our CTE guidance counselor. And also, most of you know Ms. Nancy Guerin. She's our bookkeeper / secretary / do it all. She's a holder of a lot of knowledge that goes on here in the CTE department. So that makes up our entire staff. Something that we're very proud of and we wanted to share with you. We got these results back at the first of the school year, and these were some of our results from last year's data. And if you take a look across the board there, you'll see that the Montgomery County school system is there in the bottom, and it's compared to the state average along with the safe harbor minimum allowance that you can see. And in every area, with the exception of the graduation rate. Now, let me tell you this also, that this is actually based on the CTE concentrator status. It's not the overall graduation rate of the seniors in the county, but just pertains to the CTE concentrators. And something that Mr. King is so familiar with as well, the Perkins 5 came out last year, and with Perkins 5, in order for a student to be recognized as a concentrator, they have to finish two courses within a program of study, but the courses had to be in sequence. And in all programs of study, you have 4 levels of courses, level 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if a student took a class on level 1 and 2, or 2 and 3, or 3 and 4, once you're considered, you've taken those 2 classes in sequence, you're a concentrator within CTE. So if you take a look there, you can see that our CTE students across the county outperformed the rest of the students across the state in every category. We were just a little bit behind with our graduation rate, but we'll be working on that as well. But very proud of our students and what they've accomplished. And we go to the next slide. Okay. College and career exploration, something that we have to put in place. And I think we had this discussion last year when we talked about the Naviance program and using them. This was started back when Mr. King and Dr. Eldridge was here, got this started, and it's an excellent program. It's very extensive. We would like to continue to use this, and we'll continue to use it for as long as we can. We're starting our third year with Naviance. This year at all of our elementary schools, the 7th and 8th graders were involved in career exploration. The guidance counselors at all the elementary schools, along with 3 CTE teachers, they're responsible for implementing Naviance and exposing the students to the program. This is also used on the high school level. We started using it within our career exploration classes at the high school. Of course, the bullet points there, the first one says that all sites have committed to the district implementation plan or in implementing the Naviance platform to increase college and career exploration availability to students countywide. The next one, the multiple trainings have been provided to teachers and counselors to support implementation and ensure success with the program. One of the things that happened to us in the first year of implementation because of COVID, we lost out on a lot of opportunities to provide the services for the students. So what we had done is drop back, and Naviance worked with us very extensively to make sure that we got what actually we paid for. And because of the students were released by March 20th, we got a discounted version of Naviance for this school year, and I was very pleased with the way they worked with us in trying to make that happen. The third bullet point there, as of our mid-year review, all sites have reached their 50% completion mark, setting them up to achieve the county end-of-year completion target of 75%. At the beginning of the school year, because of all the difficulty we had last year, we had to get buy-in from all of our guidance counselors across the county, not just at the high schools, but at the elementary schools. Ms. Farmer and Ms. Castile and I worked hard to make the presentations to them, selling it to them. We set up some lofty goals. They had certain tasks they had to accomplish before certain deadlines that we had set forth. The guidance counselors have done a great job. Now we have had a couple of setbacks because of the snow, but I reviewed all this 2 days ago with Ms. Farmer, and we seem to be in a real good place. We still are, here we are at the 1st of March. We got March and April and a little bit of May to finish up all the tasks that we had. And the last bullet point there, Naviance interest inventories can help guide course selection for the upcoming school year, better aligning student strengths and interests to course offerings in Cumberland County. I will elaborate a little bit more on another slide about how we've registered for classes this year. And the entire purpose of Naviance is trying to generate that interest survey so the students can start thinking about their future, whether it be college, whether it be career, or whatever their wishes are. And of course, we encourage them and tell them that, you know, not locked in. The interest survey can change. For a student's interest in the 7th grade, it may not be the same interest they're going to have in the 8th or the 9th or the 10th. But as they progress, they go back and tweak their interest surveys. And it's a living document, something that goes with them every single year and it never goes away. They can apply for colleges. They can send transcripts. There's a lot to the Naviance program. And one of the main was based on their interest surveys. That's where they start looking at their elective focuses and what they're going to be taking when they do get to high school. So again, Naviance is something that not every school system has an opportunity to use. There's different programs out there because we're, like I told you earlier, we're charged with making sure that 7th and 8th graders have that opportunity to do interest surveys. So, and our platform is Naviance, and sure to appreciate the support that you guys give us on that program as well. So let's move on to the next slide. the virtual 8th grade career fair. We'll take a look at this. The first, and without looking at the bullet points, you can read those. Every year we do we would do a career fair for 8th graders in the fall, and we do 11th graders in the spring. We take all the 8th graders from every elementary school, take them out to the community complex where we have vendors set up at businesses and from industries to, governmental officials, a lot of different areas. And this is a big ordeal. Mr. King and the previous administration with CTE have done a wonderful job setting the standards for that. But the problem this year, of course, was COVID. So what we started toying around with early on was how is this going to look? How are we going to expose our students to the same information without doing that in person, and to do it with vigor and make sure that they get the same information, but in a different format. So we reached out. One of the first things we did, we had an organizational meeting and started looking at all of our partnerships. We started looking at what type of information are we going to be wanting to gain from from the businesses and the industries around. So we developed a long list of questions. We approached the businesses. Now, in some cases, some of them had their own videos, their own promotional videos intact that we could use. But for the most part, our team went out and personally videotaped at their location and had a list of questions that we went through with those. And we'd like to share some of those videos with you in just a few minutes so you can see, just get a small sample of what the students were doing on this particular day. During the virtual day, all students all 8th graders across the county were involved. The teachers in the classroom and the guidance counselors were leading them through to the career fair. They had an opportunity to click on which program of study that they wish to explore and to listen to the people talk and give a tour of some of the industries, and very interesting and very productive. So what we're going to be doing with the 11th grade career fair is the same thing, except we're going to expand on what we already have. This was the first phase of it. So we want to add more businesses, more industry to it, and so they can get a better experience than the 8th graders did. Although it was good, we just want to take it to another level as well. Dr. Maxwell, would you like to it's 9:58. Would you want to take a break now, or you want to go ahead and start with some of our videos?
Actually, let's go ahead and if Marlene will click here to show the first 30-second video, just the overall of the career fair that your staff put together for us. And then we're going to take a couple of tours because I want the simulation of what our students have experienced.
Okay.
Okay, that one right there first. So that was an overview that the department put together for students, to engage them to get the interest. And then of all of the concentrators, which we are very fortunate that our predecessors established those for Cumberland County students. That is absolutely something that Cumberland County can be very proud of. These are examples of what students will see through this virtual field trip. Again, another way that our district has adapted. And, earlier we've last week and this week, there's been a little bit more focus on the early grades, which that was planned, but this is a focus on what our high school students are seeing. And so I wanted to spotlight, obviously I'd love for you to see all 16, and we can make these available where you can watch all 16 We've got 4 different areas that we're going to view. The first one, this is what our students would see in the area of finance. This is a clip from First National Bank of Tennessee that they did for our students.
My name is Grant Thurman. I work at First National Bank of Tennessee here in Crossville. I guess the best way to describe my job, I am a deposit officer. What that means is I am one of the first people somebody talks to if you have an account, have an issue with an account, and things of that nature, more your checking account, savings account.
I'm Patrick Erickson. I also work with Mr. Thurman here at First National. My primary function is a lender or loan officer. So my job to meet with individuals or businesses who are looking to get a loan, whether it be a small personal loan to start credit, go to school, buy a car, maybe buy a home, or in some cases, very large commercial loans where people looking to expand or start a brand new business here in Cumberland County or somewhere nearby. So my job usually entails meeting with those individuals, looking through a great deal of information, deciding how much of a loan we can approve, how to structure that loan. Lots of moving pieces, a lot of interesting things to be able to see and do as part of our job.
I told you what we do. There's so many other jobs here at the bank, so we can go over a few of those with you. We've got a great little sheet that hopefully that they'll share with you. Teller, which money making deposits. Like I said, a account representative, lender. There's loan support, and what that is Patrick was saying, all the information they help you with the task, help gather that information and get it in the correct form to help you. We also have credit analysis. What that does is they help Patrick dig through the financial information to make sure that we are making the best decision possible. We also have an HR department. We have IT. We have in-house counsel. We have behind-the-scene jobs like our operations. We have a deposit operations, helps us see about any mistakes on opening an account, correcting anything like that. Loan operations, which helps with the posting of payments, making sure that the notes are current, past dues, so you don't miss a payment, that nature. Internet banking department helps out with if you're having issues with logging onto internet banking or your app, needing help with that. The other kind of that we have.
So if you've listened to all this so far, you go, wow, that sounds incredibly boring. Why would I want to do that? I'm going to be. That's exactly what I thought. I thought in the right mind would want to go into banking. That doesn't sound thrilling to me at all. But what I actually found was there's a lot of loan maybe best things about our job is the fact that we can do that. By not only getting to bring make our community work.
Can you hear me?
For one reason or another, need to borrow money to make their very strongly encouraged get out and chase information. Find ways to get back to our community. There's some things that you might not get to as a part of this job.
Marlene, if you can hear me, can we go ahead and skip to the TCAP video? This one,
the times I have
we're having trouble with.
Cover the facts that are given. I have to do some research and some fact checking and certain things like that just to be find out what's really the best fit for the business of our bank. And that comes in on Grant's part. Well, deposit accounts.
Y'all will just bear with us while we get through this.
Risk managers, and their job is to look through it. responsibilities, making sure that we help with fraud, with anything that could harm them.
We did work, I promise.
That's now when you talk to bankers, though, just.
Well, yeah, it's like, was it the teacher on Peanuts or something, or Charlie Brown, yeah.
Now, I assure you that the day they had the career fair, it worked much better.
It worked much better as I've gone through it several times. Again, I apologize. We are living the life that our educators have lived and our students have lived for the past however many months since August, and this is the reality of it. And I didn't really plan to have this many difficulties, but I think we have to embrace the struggles.
Yeah, it happens. You just have to deal with it and go on.
Absolutely. Okay, so and we are handling this on-site and off-site. So we really are trying to embrace virtual and remote learning this morning. So if we could, I think I've got more.
I have a quick question.
The TCAT.
Hi.
Yes,
my question is for Dr. Maxwell. I'm really impressed. Audio issues aside, because I realize we've got an internet issue, but the production values, I'm really very, very impressed with. Were the students involved in making this video, your whole intro and everything?
Yes, one section. Go ahead. Ms. Carty, we had a.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. We had a woman with putting this.
I'm very, very impressed. I just want to say I'm very impressed with the production values.
They've done a tremendous job. The last one before break, I'd like for us to see just a few minutes. Again, the purpose of this is for us to experience what our students experience. And, you know, who knows what I still want to be when I grow up. You know, there's so many things out there. But here's a short clip from the TCAT also, because we have a lot of students who transition post-secondary to TCAT. And here is an example, and we'll see if we can get this one to play. And WCTE did facilitate this particular video.
The TCAT Crossville is one of 20 TCATs located across the state of Tennessee. Some TCATs are very large, some are very small. All have the same goal. Every one of them, all workforce providers. We are here to keep a steady students out in the workforce. Not all TCATs train in the same area. Some are really, really diverse. Some are more skill sets, welding, machine shop, things of that nature. We're trying to add a little bit more diversity education. We're sort of kind of wanting to branch out a little bit. Obviously, up here on the plateau, we feel like hospitality and recreation, those sort of programs like that we have here. Also, with this program in particular, we're the only hybrid in electric vehicle program technician certification. So this one is a little bit more different than some. In building construction technology, you're efficient lead 5-star houses. We also have other programs here in our electronics program. We have a solar voltaic portion of it for solar energy, as well as a component for wind energy. Our heating, ventilation, and air conditioning class, we were one of the first TCATs to ever incorporate geothermal. We have a geothermal well here on the campus, geothermal trench adjacent to the campus where we're the project house. So we incorporate all those sort of green energy training as well.
Well, one of the things that hinders hybrid and electric cars is that they don't know when they're going to get them worked on once they go out of warranty.
we seen a need there, started investigating and seen there really was a need, and so we started together.
It would be counterproductive for a teacher to teach a program and train students in something they can't get a job in. So we went around to some of the dealerships and asked if they had qualified technicians that were trained a little bit further east of us. It said, yes, there's definitely a need for this. So we kind of evaluate that, set up the training needs, get with people in the industry that as it reaches the state with things like the Drive to 55 initiative for the Tennessee Promise, Reconnect, there, and all those things that all that show industry that hey, Tennessee is happening, and we feel like the TCATs are a part of that.
Trying to take the basic electricity, electronics, and we start looking at components, then how the components work in the cars and the components in these cars. I mean, it's kind of a mix. It's really the same industrial type of thing. And so it doesn't have.
Okay, so we're going to stop there. We're going to be 3 minutes ahead of schedule on the break time, just to try to help us clear up some audio technicalities here. So what we will do, we will take a break until 10:30. When we come back, we will still have the conclusion of the CTE presentation, and then we will transition to the rest of our agenda. And hopefully during this time, we will be able to take care of some things. So thank you very much. We'll be back at 10:30. So what we're going to segue into right now, this one was made by the Cumberland County Chamber of Commerce to show students opportunities that are available through there. So we're going to try this again to see if we can get our video and audio to work well. And if we can, this one's just 2 minutes, and then we're going to take a tour to Ms. Can America, which was very informative to me. I've learned so much from these videos. And then we will transition. Okay, so Marlene, if you can. Okay, we don't have sound.
The Chamber of Commerce is the lead economic development organization for all of Cumberland County. Our community is growing, but it doesn't just happen by itself. It takes business, government, organizations, and people all working together. That intersection is the Chamber of Commerce. Every day, people are moving here from all, and the Chamber helps them to find information on where to live, what to do, and how to get settled in. The Chamber also helps companies as they look to create new jobs and income for our citizens. Small businesses add flavor and variety to our community. The Chamber works with them every day to help them grow and prosper. Chamber events throughout the year help people and businesses stay engaged and connected. Education is a lifelong pursuit. That's why the Chamber offers programs such as Leadership Cumberland to develop personal and professional skills. Last but not least, the Chamber promotes tourism in Cumberland County. Long known as the golf capital of Tennessee, we are also home to other great outdoor activities and attractions. Last year alone, tourists spent over $132 million here, providing a huge boost to our economy. Together with Cumberland County, the city of Crossville, and all the towns and cities, businesses, and people that make up this great place we live, the Chamber is working every day to make it better. If this interests you, come on, join us. We are located at 34 South Main Street in downtown Crossville, Tennessee. So stop on by and see us.
so I think we had some success there. That one worked out much better, and so we will view the very last one. It was up towards the very beginning. This is in advanced manufacturing, and this is from Ms. Can America here in Crossville.
I'm Jessica Dillon with Ms. Con America. I'm the HR specialist, and today we're going to give you a tour of Ms. Con. My name is Jessica Dillon, and I'm the HR specialist here at Ms. Con in Crossville, Tennessee. Ms. Con America is a production facility. We produce and bottle white and apple distilled vinegar. Our company has 17 manufacturing plants across the United States, and our corporate office is located in Chicago, Illinois. Some of our products made in other plants include cooking wines, mustard, and ragu and Bertolli sauces. Some of my employees have certifications from vocational schools, including welding, electrical, and maintenance. Office staff have bachelor's degrees in business administration, and I personally have my bachelor's in business administration and my master's in HR management. My production staff runs, their wages start at $13.87 an hour, and they max out at $25 an hour. Our office staff, maintenance, and electricians' wages range from anywhere from $16 an hour to $30 an hour. Management is usually anywhere between $50,000 and up annually. All of these wages depend on experience, education, and length of years with the company. Our production staff works 4-hour days, including night shift and day shift. Our office staff and management is typically a Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. A fun fact about Ms. Con, our vinegar can also be found in products such as Duke's mayonnaise, Wishbone Italian dressing, Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce, and Olive Garden's Italian dressing.
At Ms. Con, a standard production line is employed to ensure products are assembled and packaged to the expected level of quality for the companies and consumers the products will be sold to once leaving Ms. Con. The production line typically operates 6 days a week. The plant remains open 7 days a week for basic operation oversight, such as maintenance and deep cleaning of machinery. Each employee plays an important role in the production process. Each employee must oversee a specific function of the line, which is part of the quality assurance process for the product. From ensuring lids are properly secured to labels being placed on the correct bottle location, to the final packaging and loading of the final product that will be shipped to the purchaser.
Local opportunities that our students have and the importance of what we do with our high school students with their career and technical exploration. And, you know, you see all the opportunities just at this one manufacturing place, from students who have graduated with technical certifications and degrees all the way through the lady that took us on the tour. She had her master's in human resources. Dr. Maddox has a few things left that he needs to share with us regarding this particular department. So Dr. Maddox, I'm going to turn it back over to you, and thank you for your patience as we've worked through this.
That was that was difficult at times right there, Dr. Maxwell. But anyway, we're proud of the product that that the department put out, and I think they did a great job. And of course, like I said before, we're going to build on that for our 11th grade career fair as well. But the next slide has pertained to our CTE funding that we received this current school year. We received with a Perkins Basic Grant, we received over $138,000 from that particular grant. And with our Perkins Reserve Grant, we had received $35,000 of that particular grant. And on the next slide, you'll see two more grants that we applied for during the school year. One was a middle school STEM startup grant that helps us with all the STEM classes at all 9 elementary schools, along with a middle school career exploration grant. This particular grant was earmarked to help us with some of our computer needs, education classes at the elementary schools as well, in order for us to implement the Naviance program and to do career exploration. So for a grand total grant monies that we received this past year, if you'll go to the next slide, you'll see that we received over $211,322.59 altogether on those 4 grants what Cumberland County had received. A lot of effort went into those grants, and we'll continue to do so each and every single year, any opportunity we have to gain additional funds. So very proud of what they had done there, and very much needed in our department. The next slide is based on our work-based learning numbers that we have. When we talk about work-based learning, it's not just, first thing a lot of people think about is co-op, but it's not just co-op. You see that we had 118 students working within early school release work-based learning programs. We had 93 different job placements throughout the county. We had 6 unpaid internships within doctor's offices and business locations. We had 6 students working twice a week at local elementary schools as part of the Teaching as a Profession program. We had 14 students working toward their certified nursing assistant certification, working at the nursing homes. Now, one thing about that last bullet point, 14 students, that number dropped on us this year. That number was higher in previous years, but due to COVID, we did have lack of participation, less participation in that area as well. And I'm sure that's understandable by all. So let's move to the next slide. The industry certifications for this year so far, now this is based on the first semester, we had 313 industry certifications that were offered. We offered OSHA 10 and OSHA 30, the NIMS, Manufacturing, Certified Nursing Assistant, Tennessee specific industry certifications in animal science and human services. In the spring, we'll be offering ServSafe, Automotive Service Excellence, QuickBooks, and AWS, Sense Weller to certifications that students can earn. In Cumberland County, at SMHS is the only county, the school in the state that currently has a 100% pass rate for Tennessee specific industry certifications in animal science. And kudos goes out to Mr. Cole and his students. That was the first time we attained that in the county, and we were the only school in the state that received 100% passing on that particular industry certification. For course updates for this upcoming school year, students are in the process of selecting classes for right now. A number of our schools are having students register for classes through the use of our online Skyward Student Access. This is the first year that we've been able to do this. All 3 high schools use Skyward to register for their classes this spring, and we had 2 elementary schools on board trying it out as well. And our goal is to have everybody on board next year when we start to register during the spring for the fall courses of 22-23. We do offer 2 more additional dual enrollment classes for this upcoming year. We have a dual cybersecurity, and actually already have a couple of students enrolled in that as a pilot program right now. And we'll have a dual nutrition across lifespan, an agreement we've got with MTSU. So our goals for next year, based on our Perkins grant, this grant was submitted just 2 days ago. And so our goals that we've had placed in that particular grant was that we're trying to increase the number of ready graduates. And of course, this is based again on our the number of students that we have as CTE concentrators. We went from, I think we moved up to a 45% year. So we reached out to our goal next year is at a 46%. And anything, you know, at least we want to go as a half percentage. And not knowing where we're going to be at this next school year with Ready Graduates, because that is a data point. We put our goal for next year for Ready Graduates at 20, I think it said 25.3% for Ready Graduates. So that's our goals for next year. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's going to be our last slide. I appreciate your patience and putting up with the technology blip that we have, but appreciate you guys listening to us and letting us have an opportunity to present to you. Is there any questions that I could answer?
Okay, Dr. Maddox, thank you very much. And no worries, because the technology difficulties are out of everyone's control. It is not a person, it's invisible wires and all things associated with that. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to take a field trip to TEIS. I didn't want to disappoint you in not having the field trip. This is, Ms. Barnes is going to give us a brief introduction, and we're going to cross our fingers that this particular piece of video will play as we have planned.
Yes, TEIS, it stands for Tennessee Early Intervention System, and we team with the state to help our developmentally delayed youngest students progress. We want them to be ready for school and kindergarten. So we also help the parents work towards goals of their own children. And there's lead teacher, and then there are 3 assistants in the program. Ms. Marlene Holton. The principal, the administrator on site will be Mr. Lowe, because it's on the Phoenix campus, and then the supervisor who oversees everything is Ms. Holton, as it works through the special ed department here at Central. This program has been up and running since 2010, and it's only getting stronger. Every year it's getting stronger and stronger. When you watch this video, I came home, I had been out with my daughter the other day, and they put this video together, and I sat down to watch it, and I immediately sent an email to everybody involved and said, I'm crying, because it's just super special, and I know Mr. Brock would understand being on that campus as well. I think you're going to enjoy this as much as I did. So Ms. Delaney is your lead teacher, and she's going to kind of narrate through this video, but please know there are also many other adults that play huge parts to making this facility run as well.
Hey, welcome to Baby Birds Daycare. It was opened in 2010 because Kids Incorporated was closed, and we needed a place for children with developmental delays, or just really needed to be able to get ready for the regular preschool setting, to come and get ready for that. And this is a perfect place to come. Here we work on the different skills. They're cognitive skills, they're expressive and they're receptive language skills, they're cognitive skills. We serve kids ages 18 months to 3 years old. The day they turn 3 years old, they have to leave, which is kind of tough because you kind of get attached to them. Baby Birds also offers OT and PT services. So a couple of times a week, we have an OT on site and PT on site where they come and they work with our babies, which is fantastic because a lot of parents work and a lot of parents are not able to transport their children to other places. So they're able to just bring them here, and the services are rendered here, so it's great too. We have 3 different classrooms here, so we break them up by ages. We do different things like flashcards, and we work on shapes and colors and word identification cards. We also really encourage peer interaction, and we do a lot of echoing with the kids, and we do a lot of showing them how to play. The place is a wreck, if you can see it right now, because the kids have been playing hard. Like I said, it is state funded. Right now, because of what's been going on, it's We're not having to apply for a grant at this time, which is fantastic. We do have a place for 44 children to be. I can only have 22 at a time. We have a Monday, Tuesday set up with 22 children and a Wednesday, Thursday set up for 22 children. I have 3 assistants that are fantastic. I couldn't ask for a better crew to take care of these babies. We feed them a snack during this time, and we also have a great program where we are able to give them breakfast and lunch for a week. And we give that to the Monday, Tuesday group on Tuesday and the Wednesday, Thursday group on Thursday. Every morning when I meet with the parents, when they drop the child off, I ask them, what would you like for us to work with your child today? And they give me some feedback on what they would like for us to work on. And when I meet with my crew in the morning, I go over what the mom, dad, grandma, grandpa said that they would like for us to work on. And then when they do pick up in the afternoon, or it's 11:15, so it's not actually afternoon yet, I give them feedback about how they did, what we worked on. We do a lot of art projects and stuff, so we're able to send that to the parents as well. We have a Facebook page that is only open for the parents. I have to approve the people that's on the Facebook page. And so since COVID, they're not allowed to be inside the center. That is a way for us to be able to reach out to the parents. Also, I got parent permission for us to be able to photograph some of the great things their kids are doing here at the program, at our program, because we talk about it, but they can't see it. If their child is stacking blocks or working on, pushing something that they've not been able to walk, but they're walking and they're pushing something. If they've never seen that happen, but we're just talking about it, letting them see it in a photograph is a great way to do that. So that's another way that we're reaching out to the parents, and the feedback has been great. So we're very thankful for this program.
Good morning. You're so good. Good morning, David. How are you? You're good. Are you ready to go? Right. Are you ready? Say bye. Say bye. I love you. Bye. Say bye. Morning. How is Nevaeh? She is ready to go. Oh, she got pigtails. Nevaeh, I'm not going to be able to stand it, sister, if you got pigtails. Oh my goodness! What are you doing? Hi, baby girl. I love it. You're beautiful. Melody, Terrell, are you going to come play with me today? Are you being shy? You better get out here with me. How are you, sis? Oh, I'm loving your hair today too, baby girl. Good morning, Jessica. Good morning. Good morning. How are you this morning? Potty training. Nevaeh's mom said we need to work on tracking with her. So if we can hold the school or anything for us have to collapse up the water. It's fun. Let's see. 3, 4. Here's our free song. Are y'all ready? That is a game that's kind of neat. What do you see? He's sleeping in the bed. He is eating a banana. Yes. What is this? What is that? It's a dress. It is a dress. What color? It's black. It's shoes and black. Is it red? It's red. Can you say red? What do you see, Wesley? Look at it. What is this? It's ice cream. It's ice cream. That is ice cream. We were
able to partner with Tennessee Tech, and they came and they made us a ramp, and they also made us steps for our babies, because we have some that are wheelchair bound. We also like to use our wagons and our strollers, and this just a straight shoot out that makes it a lot easier. The babies are coming out, they made it to where we can kind of block them off, and we can go straight out, straight to our playground. So it was a great project on the Tennessee Tech Engineering Department, and it was a great thing to have at our Baby Bird Center.
Okay, so if that doesn't warm your heart, I don't know what would, because they are just precious, and I just think it shows the dedication of all the people that have gone before us and that are currently working in all the various positions, how child-focused and student-centered we are, and I want us to commend those people, and I applaud the people that are currently doing all of the work that we do across the district. So we've had a tour of our babies. We've spoken about our young adults and their adventures that they will embark upon after they graduate. So now we will come to the next part of our presentation. Excuse me. And what we're going to talk about now is the virtual learning update that I would like to provide for you. Do know that at any time when our honorable guests Zoom in, I will cut short what we're talking about in order to give you all and them as much time as possible this morning. So Marlene, if you will let me know when we have people join in, or if we have, we're not quite sure if they're Zooming, they have the link, or if they're physically coming in person, but we will keep you updated. Okay, so we're going to start with a virtual learning update. And on the next slide, to begin with, we'll look at our virtual numbers. And so what we're going to do, we're going to look at the August weekly virtual totals as a whole. Like you'll notice on August 10th, for that week, there was a total of 1,172 virtual learners. That was our highest virtual number count. On the next slide, it is also August numbers. However, you will denote the distinction between those enrolled in elementary and those enrolled in high school. So if we look at August 10th, which was again our highest enrollment for virtual, you will notice that we had 807 elementary learners and we had 365 high school learners. Now, you will notice as things, as we work through the months here, you will notice a decrease at the very end. So you see August was our largest enrollment, and then virtual totals again. September 7th being the highest month in September with 950 cumulative. But then when you look at the next slide for September the 7th, was September 7th, 950. So we had already begun to see that decrease. Now, there could be many contributing factors to that decrease. At this point in time, we had not begun to bring students back who were not progressing academically. This could have been attributed to, you know, we've had children and parents come in and say, this just isn't working for us. To try to do our very best to provide an environment safe and conducive for learning. Again, it was, you know, these are things that I think we will be reading for many, many years, different research briefs on as to but again, this was a minimal amount compared to the overall total. And at the very end, I'm going to give you some more numbers that you're going to connect all of these things. Then again, I've provided for you the weekly count by elementary school and by high school so that you can see the different virtual numbers. November, overall, by week, you will see again, we still have that steady decrease in virtual enrollment. And then we have also, again, provided you with the elementary and high school. For the month of December, we have those numbers, and again, the continued decline of those in virtual learning. And in December, you can see the breakdown. For instance, December 7th, 236 elementary, 174 high school virtual learners. Then in January, you see the totals again, and then of course the next breakdown is by elementary and high school. And I know this is a little redundant, but I thought that you would find this interesting, and that's why I wanted to include these pieces for you. Then we come to February, and we have the first 2 weeks in February listed. Of course, you know, we were fortunate to have some snow, and so we do have a week there where we were, students were hopefully, and teachers and faculty were able to get some much deserved rest, even though inclement weather can be very stressful in and of itself. So you see the breakdown. So on February 8th, our total overall was 331 students, with 205 being elementary and 126 being high school. The next two slides are virtual totals by month, so that you can see from August 3rd through February 1st. These were months that were pulled out for data points, and then the breakdown by elementary and high school. Now, our most current, hot off the press numbers, because we have been working on these presentations for a few days now. So currently, as of when I received this email earlier this week, we have 196 elementary virtual learners, 196 elementary virtual learners, and we have 121 high school virtual learners, which is a total of 317. Now, of those learners, for the ones who have come back to us, for elementary, 79% of the ones who have returned for elementary, 79% were parent decisions to return to school. So I think this goes back to what across the board, contact families, you know, it is ultimately a family choice, and I respect that, but we will do the very best we can to take care of your children and help provide for them the educational experience as well as the whole child experience. I mean, those of you that know me, I'm really about the whole child, and I know that there are lots of educators and staff members and everybody that we focus on the whole child. 21% of those elementary students was a school decision because the children were not progressing. And so, you know, they were brought back in. For high school, 61% of those who returned were parent decisions. 61% for high school, it were parent decisions. 39% of the population that came back for high school was school decision based, because it is so critical, you know, for students in high school to earn those high school credits. And you can't you can't go too far before you could really, you know, jeopardize a credit in a semester in a class. And we want our young people to be successful and be able to go on to their next adventures in life. So that is a breakdown of the virtual numbers. The next information that I have for you, we did the virtual remote learning student survey, and we did it with 3rd through 12th grade. The reason we did that with our kindergarten through 2nd grade, they were in person, and because of time limitations and because I wanted to get some information for you, we did the 3rd through 12th grade. Your first slide with this, you will see the numbers by school that responded and by grade level. If we're laying question number 3, it says, how easy is it to navigate and use your school-issued Chromebook for school assignments? And this speaks to the work that our educators have done. I mean, this student survey actually, our educators should take this as a huge pat on the back from their students for what they have done. This is overall, and I do have to give an overall view. 3.7% of our population that took this survey said that it was difficult. 3.7. That speaks to how well prepared our educators did to prepare our students with the use of technology. And when I say educators, this encompasses a lot of people. This is our technology department being able to work at schools to mitigate technological issues. We have teachers and staff who work daily with these students to prepare them with these 21st century skills. So I think that this is just a positive, this is positive feedback for all the people, our faculty and staff. Number 4 said, what would you say is the biggest challenge that, what would you say is the biggest challenge that you are facing with virtual learning, if any? So, you know, out of our respondents, most said, I do not feel like I have any major challenges with virtual learning. Staying motivated was in 2nd place, though. And, you know, it's a different environment with virtual and experience management, understanding course or class expectations, and adapting to unfamiliar technology. Again, that speaks directly to the efforts that have been made to helping our students become comfortable with technology. On the next slide, we asked, do you feel you are a part of the school? And this one, again, 47.1% said yes, 31.4% said sometimes, and only 21.4% said no. Again, this speaks to the level of engagement and the many hats that our educators have to wear, not only when it's in-person learning, but also during this virtual learning. Number 6, do you feel that your teacher acknowledges, includes you in classroom instruction or discussion? 67.5% said yes. I think that speaks to, again, how well our educators have done to help our students in this very challenging year. 26.2% said sometimes, and only 6.3% said no. The next question was, what do you like most about virtual learning? So the responses were, 2015 said comfort and well-being. 1,552 said there was nothing that they liked about virtual learning. 1,376 said everything. 930 chose flexibility and pace. 382 chose new learning opportunities, and 159 chose personalization, attention, and support. Now, number 8, I think it makes me smile, because I think this is what I know this is what I've thought in my mind, because we've all had to be so isolated, and we don't get to see each other's faces smiling like we've been so used to. What do you miss most about a traditional school environment? An overwhelming 2,114 selected socialization, friends. And I think this speaks to the whole child, and I think sometimes our youngest, obviously they are the most forgiving, but I think sometimes through the eyes of children, we can truly see what is important. And this represents the whole child, and they miss that socialization. And, you know, last week, Mr. Scott Hull discussed mental health and the things that he and his counselors are working with, and it was mentioned this morning as well. I think this speaks to the things that are necessary. We have things in place, but this is an opportunity for growth for us as a district to know that we have got to push forward, and we've got to be sure that we are taking care of the needs of our students. 792 students said that they missed everything about the traditional environment. 426 said they missed nothing about the traditional environment. 233 said teachers. 224 said extracurriculars. Structure, 108 respondents, and they liked most. 50 said the separation. Number 9 on our next slide, the question was, how much do you participate in classroom instruction discussions compared to being in person? So our students responded and said that they felt about the same, 51.4%. 13.2% said that they felt like they participated more. And, you know, that would be interesting to drill down if we have any young college students out there that would like to do major papers regarding the whys of things. It would be interesting to find out why they felt like they were participating more. It could be because they're more comfortable in a virtual environment. 35.3% said that they had less participation. Then number 10, the question said, overall, do you feel that you are making the same amount of progress? If you could, they may do a walkthrough. My apologies. Number 10 said, overall, do you feel that you are making the same amount of progress, understanding the content, grades, gaining knowledge with your classes virtually as you would if you were in person? So a little under half responded that they felt like they were making about the same progress. 39.3% responded that they were making less progress. They were making more progress. So again, this was an overview, lots of areas for us to grow from and to learn from with this adventure. But our kids are stakeholders in this, and it was really important to get their feedback. So the next thing that we have our virtual and remote learning. Going to be about chapter 2. Shows the grade bands that responded, the percentages. Number 3. And again, I know you all get tired of hearing me say this, but I am a teacher, and teachers do what teachers need to do, want to do, and they make things work. And do you prefer teaching in person or virtually? 94.1% of our teachers said that they prefer in person. We want those kids with us. We want to be able to give them encouragement, give them a pat on the back. I've told teachers that I've mentored before, you may be the only positive interaction they have during the day when those children come into your classroom. 5.9% responded that they preferred virtually. Number 4, please rate the difficulty level of having both virtual and in-person students, and I could have answered this for you even before I saw the results. I would have responded extremely, very difficult. Again, they have risen to the challenge. 40.4% responded very difficult. 23% somewhat difficult. We did give, there are some teachers who have only had in-person students, so they denoted that. Then we had 4.2% who said that it was not difficult, and I think we can learn from these folks, and they can give me some lessons. But again, our teachers have risen to the occasion for our students, and I'm grateful. Number 5, do you think that virtual students are making as much academic progress as when they are in person? Now here are our teacher eyes, because we know our students. 78.4% responded that students were making less progress. And we know that because we know our kids. We know what interactions we need to be having with them, conversations, what it is. You know, we've got children that we can bring out of their shell when they are in our classroom that we can't reach through a computer screen. 12.2% said about the same, and 9.1% said, I have only taught in-person students. Number 6, do you feel that you have been supported by administration with virtual learning? 41.5% responded very supported. 32.4% responded that they had been supported. 15.7% responded somewhat supported. Again, I have only, 9.4% said I have only taught in-person students, and 1% said not supported. Again, this is opportunities for growth. When I assumed this role, July 1st, you know, we've encountered so many things that we did not expect. And thank goodness for districts that were so willing to share things with us. I've been most appreciative. Number 7, do you feel that you have had adequate technology support with virtual learning? Now, this encompasses a wide variety of things: device support, program training, network assistance, virtual resources, etc. 38.7% responded that they had been supported, and 22.3% responded very supported. 26.5% somewhat supported. Again, we had our folks who had taught in person respond, and 3.5% not supported. Again, we want to look at these as opportunities for growth in areas that we as a district, as a school, can support our educators. Number 8, this one came on the heels of number 7. What areas do you currently feel you need the most professional development support? And so our top results was obviously with 63 responding, I do not feel that I need additional professional development support at this time. This speaks to the level our teachers have achieved with their confidence and their abilities. Accommodations for students virtually. This is at the heart of teachers who know their students, and they know that they need to be reaching those students. So they need more support in those areas of how do we help our most at-risk populations. Managing classroom behavior virtually. CAMI is a program that is made available to our teachers for documents and things like that that they can share with their students. Then you see other items listed there. And then it's also in a circle graph. Number 9, the question asked, were the procedures established for virtual learning adequate? And 42.2% responded adequate. 37.6% responded somewhat adequate. 11.1% not adequate. And again, our in-person students, teachers who had taught our in-person students. Again, this is an opportunity for growth, and we look forward to working to improve within this area. And, you know, I think that we are making progress, but we are not where we want to be at this time. Number 10, rate the difficulty level of effectively communicating with virtual families and parents. Our educators responded, 42.5% said that it was somewhat difficult, and 9.8% responded that it was very difficult. Of course, these are varying degrees of difficulty. I know that our educators did their very, very best to respond to any family at any time. I had teachers share with me that they would get text messages or emails, I mean, at all hours. And, you know, our educators have a life too, and I want them to be able to have a life outside of school where they can relax for their well-being, because they give their whole heart and more to our students. So, you know, these are opportunities that we will work towards in the future. At this time, what I would like to do, there are some things that we're not going to be able to cover today because we have some guests arriving with us. I just want to highlight that Ms. Barnes and I have prepared a presentation on the Tennessee Learning Loss Remediation and Student Acceleration Act and the Tennessee Literacy Success Act. We will share those slides with you and the PowerPoints that we developed. You will be hearing more information in the days ahead as we transition into fine-tuning what our summer learning camps will look like, and also the Reading 360 literacy grants that we will be applying for to support our educators and our students. Also, I will share with you a video that was created by our district created it. Miss Abigail Miller from CCHS placed in a state essay contest about civic duty. And we were going to listen to that before we had our distinguished guest with us this morning. And with that, if you'll give us just a few moments to transition to our guest speakers. Well, gentlemen, we are very honored to have you in our presence this morning. We have our school board members here and on Zoom this morning, and some of our supervisors. I'm Ina Maxwell, Director of Schools, and welcome. It is an honor to have both of you. For those of you that are listening, we have Tennessee Speaker of the House, Cameron Sexton, with us, and Senator Paul Bailey, and we are very honored to have these two distinguished gentlemen with us today. So what we would like possibly to have, and then I'll turn it over to the school board members, maybe a brief legislative update, or would we prefer to ask questions?
You can tell us anything you want to.
I'll yield to the speaker. He outranks me now. He used to tell folks that I outranked him because I was a senator, but he outranks me now, so I'll yield to the speaker first.
I don't outrank anybody. Thank you all for having us. It's great to be here. It's a little bit of an update, and we'll take more questions. So we're in the budget process right now. The governor proposed some additional funding and DEP formula and some other stuff. We're working through some other issues, obviously with potential hold harmless, how that would look on school systems. We do have a problem with 2 school systems in the state, the bigger ones, that we're trying to work through. We have the special session, as all y'all know, we'll be answering questions about special session and the learning loss bill, literacy bill, the other things that we put in place that we think will help get to that point. Funding. Also, understand there's a lot of federal funding coming down by way of the path, and it will be a lot of money. I think for the state of Tennessee, it's somewhere between at least $2 to $3 billion just for education. I think the problem we're going to have is we have to spend it by September of 22 or 3. But you can use it for building new schools, you can do it for maintenance, but it has to be spent. So we had a conversation with Commissioner Swin about that the other day, and not allowing 3 months to get away from us on the local level and lose that budgeting priority. I think, though, from what I understand on that, is you spend first, you get reimbursed, which with that much money, that's a lot of money that you all kind of have to go out and bond out, or however you all do that. So that does create another problem on that side for you. A couple of bills that we're looking at this year, we'll be happy to discuss about anything. There's a course access bill I think the governor's going to propose, and then some other ideas that may be out there. But I think the bulk of the governor's legislative plan was in the special session. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. Good to see everybody here today on a lovely Saturday morning.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. So it's always fun to be in Cumberland County, and I believe it was just not too long ago we were out in the eastern end of the county and having a good time with you guys and dinner. But Mr. Speaker covered a lot of the topics that we discussed during special session. It's kind of been, you know, we had the special session and then we took a break because we started a new General Assembly. About the time we were to get into the process of rolling along, we had the ice and snow week before last, so it's just been a little bit of a slow process getting us up and going as far as the legislature. But this week was certainly the first week we saw a lot of bills start moving through committees, and then this next week we'll see a lot more action take place. I know there's lots of discussions about the federal money coming down, how that will affect all of our school districts, as well as additional money that the governor's going to be proposing for is forefront with it, making sure that Tennessee students are well prepared moving on into college and technical schools. And so we're doing everything that we can with the circumstances we faced this past year with the pandemic. So with that, I'll yield and yield to the speaker for any other questions for him to answer.
I'll be happy to explain what happened to Paul's
I was about to say, I'm glad to see you looking better than the last time I saw you. I saw a post on Facebook and, right after your accident, but I'm glad you're much better.
Thank you. Those of you that don't know, 2 weeks ago, basically, I had a horse accident. I had a horse fall with me.
Wow.
It broke both. It broke both wrists. Actually, it fractured this one. The radius bone in this arm was completely broke. So this time last week, I was just getting out of Vanderbilt from having a plate and screws placed in this arm. So a lot of folks would say, "Boy, you're looking better than we expected you to." But we can't slow down. We got to keep going. And so I've tried to maintain as much of a normal schedule as possible. But thank you for that.
Senator, how are you eating now? I'm wondering. One might learn to eat
Straws.
left-handed if you're right-handed person.
So I've learned many things left-handed now. So the orthopedic surgeon, so the first week I was literally cast in both arms from the emergency room, and when I contacted the surgeon, I said, I've got to have some mobility. And he said, well, let's see what we can do once you get here. So he was able, because this one was fractured and they re-x-rayed it and it was healing properly, he was able to give me this removable cast, or removable splint that's on my arm. But I will say for the first several days, my wife was basically having to feed me, bathe me, brush my teeth, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Kathy?
I would, I've been on the board off and on since 2000, and I've never seen a more progressive state legislature and its support of education. So I want to thank both of you for the roles that you've played in helping better our community through support of our school systems. I do have some concerns, and I know you have these concerns too. One of the major concerns, besides teacher salaries, okay, is BEP funding for all of our teachers. So Cumberland County has over 150 teachers, I believe, maybe 140, maybe more, maybe less, that aren't funded through the BEP, yet they're teachers, and the reason why they're not funding is because the classroom capacity exceeded the capacity. We had to hire more teachers, and those teachers are not being funded. So I'm concerned that the piece of legislation that currently is in the hopper gets through the Senate and through the House and can fund those teachers. Of course, I mentioned before that I'm concerned about teacher salaries too. I know we're making progress. I know that. And I want to commend you all and thank you. Just keep up that work. So that there are a couple of other issues, but I'll close my mouth now and let other board members talk.
Was that, the state requires us to hire specific numbers of teachers, but we don't get the funding with them. And we'd appreciate any kind of help that you can give us, in that area, just doesn't cover them in that area.
I'll touch on that. So you're right, the ratio sometimes, we also understand that RTI, a lot of that is not funded through the EP as well. And in some places, when we gave the teacher pay raises, it had to go to pay for the RTI teachers, and not go for teacher pay raises, so we understand that as well. I think we're gonna go back and look at the BEP formula. I don't think we can do it this year, but I think you'll see some type of group put together to go back and look at BEP, and see what we can do. I will say the literacy bill and the learning loss bills that we passed and how we think we set it up, and please, if it doesn't work out this way, please let us know, that funding should help you with the RTI, teachers, and help take some of that burden off the local districts. Because you can kind of, the way it's set up through what Commissioner Schwinn has said. So if you don't see that happening, please let us know so we can get back to the commissioner. So we hope that that kind of works with that as well. With the teacher pay raises, you know, I think we've given, since Governor Haslam's here, a lot of different pay raises. Unfortunately, to your point, is some school systems give it, some do not. And the other point is, to your point, since you have more teachers than your BEP says you do, that 4% is not always a true 4%. And so if you've seen how we passed the legislation, instead of saying you give a teacher a 4% raise, we for every teacher, we kind of give you a pot of money. Because in some places, if you have this, it may equate to a 3% raise and not a 4%, and we don't want to tie you to a 4%. Because that means then you have to pay extra money. So we've tried to, in those instances, understand that is an issue. And so we're hopeful to go back and look at the BEP component. And I think one of the things that's been talked about is separating salary as a category outside, as a independent part of BEP, and not having it lumped in with some other stuff. Where we know the money will conversation as well.
That would be very helpful. Looking at the ratios in the BEP formula would really assist districts. For instance, in the BEP formula, the ratio for school nurses is 1 to 3,000 something. And our board has had the foresight, fortunately, to equip each school in our district with a school nurse. And so we have a population of just under 7,000 now. So if by the BEP formula, we only qualify for 2 of those for funding purposes, and then we have to come up with that through other sources. So I really like what you all are telling us, looking at the BEP formula, and especially the ratios. That would really help us out at the local level.
And I think one of the things too we're looking at this year, because if you're looking at the attendance levels being down for one reason or another, more so in some other kindergarten, early grades seem to be where the bulk of it is, if you look across the state, is how do you allow you all to plan for next year if you know your BEP is going to be adjusted down based off your attendance? And so there's really two different things. One is a pot of money set aside outside BEP with some hold harmless dollars. One of those things may be you have to do the assessments in order to get it. And that may be a conditional type of thing. The other thing we're looking at is trying to put more money into the growth model, which would incentivize you to go find those kids and get them back in school. And so we think that might be an appropriate way to kind of help you plan. If you know there's a pot of money, more than what's usual, because we've had more, we think we'll have more growth in some areas. But if you know that there's money there in the growth formula, then that will help you plan a little bit better as we try to get through this pandemic.
I would just say that to the BEP formula, it's not been a perfect model, but it's definitely been something that Tennessee has been able to fund their school systems for many years. But as with all programs that you have, there has to be some tweaking of it, and I'm glad that Speaker Sexton is basically trying to put together a group of legislators to look at the BEP formula, because I've heard from many school directors and school board members that, you know, because of the requirement of student to teacher ratio, you know, we're having to fund, the local district is having to fund teachers outside of that, which that's what you're addressing. And so then on the opposite side, we hear from teachers whenever the state says, oh, well, we're giving a 4% pay increase, and then the teachers come and say, well, we didn't get a 4% increase. We only got a 1% or 2%, but it's because school districts are having to divide that money up to make sure that everyone gets the pay increase. So I think that, you know, knowing that we're going to try to look at that model as far as the current BEP and figure out a modern day, if you will, formula that will be very, very helpful to our school districts.
Well, I applaud you all for your efforts, because I think the communication this year, especially coming out of special session, was much clearer and more clearly communicated to all the stakeholders in regards to how, you know, like the salary, the raise or one-time bonus was equated with the BEP formula. And then, you know, we come around, we're working to make that happen for all of our certified and non-certified employees. So I do applaud you all for that. Mr. Safdie?
I have a question about, I guess it's philosophical, but how do you determine what should be the, and I guess what I'm doing is I'm referring to this, the ratio, BEP ratio, classroom ratio to funding, and is it, how do you determine whether it's fair or not for the county to pick up the number of teachers that aren't funded by BEP? I mean, how do you think about it? I wouldn't want to be in that role.
Well, I mean, I think if you look at, I don't know if that was a change when they did BEP 2.0 or not, what, 10, 12 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. It's based on the ability to pay, I think, based on what your property tax is. And it was supposed to be a way, it really, my understanding of it, we weren't there at the time, but it penalized the rural counties more than the urban. They actually saw an increase in their BEP funding, and rural areas saw a decrease in BEP funding. And so if you talk to Representative Kelly Kiesling, who has Clay County and Pickett County, you know, a 10-cent property tax rate up there equates to like a half a cent in Shelby County. And so it was supposed to be a way designed to help, and I don't think it did. I think as you look long-term at how do you get county governments or city governments, if you do have city schools in Maryville and Oak Ridge and Alcoa that perform very well, you know, I don't think you'll see us dictating to the locals how much money that they must put in or mandating that. I think, you know, our goal is to do the best that we can at the state level, and hopefully it's important enough to the locals to help improve the education. I understand that there's some pushback in other areas. But what my philosophy is, and what I try to explain to people, especially in the rural counties when they ask, is a lot of times we want to focus, and I think I mentioned this one time, we want to focus on buying property for industrial development and doing all that, which is fine and dandy. Sometimes that payoff is 20 to 30 years from now. But if you make the same investment into the education, and all of a sudden you propel, for example, in this today, Cumberland County, to be the best on the plateau, then what you will have is you will have families who will live here and drive somewhere else for work, which I think is the first step to a thriving economy. And then gradually businesses will move to Cumberland County because that's where they want to be, because that's where people are living. And so I think there's conversations that should be had on the local level about what the goal is and where they want education to go and how good you want to be. You can't go from one level to the best in the state, but there's a series of things that you can go through to make it the best in the area, best in the region, then best in the state. And if you look at Williamson County or Oak Ridge or Maryville, I think the model holds true that businesses and corporations will move into that area if they feel like the schools are important enough, and people will drive an hour to work and have their kids in what they think is the best schools.
Thank you.
we have, actually, we spoke about this morning, or Mr. Magnuson did, he is our attendance supervisor. When you talk about students that are chronically absent, of course, this year, because of the pandemic, there are certain things waived that districts are not going to be held accountable for. But Mr. Magnuson, could you elaborate a little bit on what we discussed this morning about excused absences affecting our district count?
Sure. And Speaker Sexton, a while back, you and I talked a little bit about that. You know, it's obviously we need a little help this year, you know, with the pandemic and all, and the courts being shut down, we've lost that assistance. But one of the things that's been really difficult to address is, you know, we're now held accountable for excused absences as well. So worst case scenario is a student that, and Mr. Emmons brought up a really good example, but if a kid has a four-wheeler accident, or let's say a horse accident, and he's out for 18 days in the hospital, whatever, we get dinged on that. And because it's when we made that transition from chronically absent to chronically out of school. So something like that, or God forbid a child that's going to cancer treatment, any of that, if they've had 18 excused absences, we still will pay the price for that from the chronic absenteeism. And that's something we could always use some help with. I don't know if that's, y'all are familiar with that or what the reasoning behind that is, but on top of the unexcused.
Just so I understand, is that always the policy? Has that always been?
No, that's just changed.
That's just.
And a few years ago, it's been a couple of years since I think so. Yeah, that was just, and again, part of it is philosophy. I think they quit using the words chronically absent, and they started calling it chronically out of school. So I don't know what the target was on that, but apparently there was an issue maybe, but truly, we're getting held accountable for some of those type of situations. And we can't really do, I mean, we work with the doctor's office, we do everything we can to try to limit, but basically, if they have excused absences at 18, we're still helping them for that. There was one big thing too, was the sports, right? If they got deemed. I think their patient will be there, because I know during the pandemic, we had issues with some school districts. So in that discussion, you know, an excuse. Person, there's a lot of good things. There's some I think something that needs to be addressed. Because at the end, you know, I mean,
We have had 98 in-person student days, 12 remote days this school year. And we have used 12 stockpile days because of inclement weather. We did use 2 of those stockpile days before Thanksgiving break for our custodians to do a deep clean, and Mr. Rainwater at the State Department approved those for us to use those 2 days. So our educators for 78 students, but now that has decreased to right around 319. So we've had families come back. 79% of our elementary families chose to come back after they had been virtual for a while, and 61% of our high school families chose to come back. The other portion that did return, we brought them back because of not achieving academic success while being virtual.
You said you've used 12. Of your 13, about if we have additional inclement weather that would cause them to have to be closed. So we've already broached that subject with Department of Education, and as you mentioned, you use a couple of your days for a deep clean, so forth and so on. So they're supposed to be developing, I don't know, a policy, I guess you will, if a school district goes beyond their 13 days to help you mitigate that, because that was a very real concern to a couple of my other school directors just west of here.
Sure. And we do have a continuous learning plan, which was approved by the State Department of Education at the beginning of the school year. And with our virtual, we will be able to
And I think in the General Assembly, when we talk about, we think schools need to go. What we're talking about is teams.
Yeah, very good.
79% of the parents still unfortunately, we have one school system in the state that has been in school less than 10 days as an option, not even open. Basically, we're saying open. We're not saying you have to have so many kids in the classroom. They've only had 10 days where they were actually open. And we still have one in the state that has not opened its doors since March of last year. And so you've almost looked at 1.5 full academic years. And it starts becoming a problem because, and that's one of the reasons we looked at learning loss, is virtual. And so we have not that virtual can't help. I think it's been more beneficial for high school students. I think it's easier for high school. Much harder for okay, we want to continue the trends that we're doing, and I think one of the things we talked about, Senator Bailey and the rest of the General Assembly, is for a lot of years, and if you go back 10 years ago, we weren't doing very well then. Very well, I think we're doing better, and I mean, there's just goals to do a little bit better. So if you improve by 2 points in the state or in the nation, or reading proficiency moved from a fourth to a better, we're on a different approach now. The school districts have worked very hard to continue the in-person hearing, and I think that has just been that all six school districts, so kudos to you guys.
Well, it has been a team effort, and one of our teachers the other day at our employee advisory committee, she said to me, she said, you know, Anna, we talk about everybody, all of the essential workers, everybody that's doing their part, but we're not thinking about our kids are really our superheroes. They're the ones who have had to live this and, you know, shift, but youth is so advantageous though. They shift so easily, you know, and so we're very proud of our students too. So I appreciate that, Senator.
Perhaps not as noble as some of the ones that have been asked thus far. There is a bill in the pipeline right now. It's Senate Bill 1141 or House Bill 96, if I've got the numbers correctly. But essentially, the bill is saying that the director of schools and the school board cannot hire employees to work within the school system who are relatives. Now, in a large metropolitan area, I can see that's doable. But as you get into smaller populations, education is often occupation, a calling, if you will. And
well, just briefly looking at that, it's basically saying that the director or a relative of you as a school board member without the written consent of the Commissioner of Education. You know, I don't know the background story. Speaker Sexton may understand from his House member. That they maybe file that, but if it goes to the same instance that there's legislation usually every year that says a county employee can't serve as a county commissioner. And so to your point, you have the small counties, Jackson County, to run for that position, and so they're always discussing about how we would limit their ability to get good county commissioners by limiting that. So, Speaker Sexton, I don't want to speak for him, but I haven't spoken to the senators in regard.
You know, I mean, every year we get 15 bills, there's 1,700 bills, so we kind of look at them as they come up. I'll tell you, it's before the K through 12 subcommittee in the House, that chairman is Kurt Hastings, who's a teacher in Perry County. And so it'll get interesting to look at it. Sometimes those bills are more of a local issue. And so there's something locally, it looks like this coming week. And so sometimes bills just don't going on locally. Remember, our director schools are no longer elected locally. Sometimes most of them might not even come from that area. So it's not really understanding the purpose of what that looks like. So we'll be happy to check on it and report back to you.
keep an eye on that for me, please.
And can I just say that prior to coming to this meeting, Cameron and I had another meeting, and I referenced the fact that, you know, we have constituents that contact us that have great ideas that they want legislation filed for. Many times I'll say that's a challenge. You know, I don't know that we can get that legislation passed. So this could be a very similar situation as the speaker referenced, that, you know, maybe there's been a local issue and you're trying to send a message. So, you know, contact about whether they're getting their
question. What can we do for you guys to help you out? I mean, as a board or as individuals, I mean, you know, you come to these and, you know, we're always asking you for help and stuff. What can we do for you to help you out?
I'm looking at you too.
From our county mayors, our city mayors, our county commissioners, and city council members. But a lot of times, we don't always hear from our school directors and our school boards, and you know, that's okay, because you guys will. I would like to say to you and extend the invitation. Like to say to you and extend the invitation, but let me hear from you all year long as far as how things are progressing. You guys, to say the General Assembly did a very good job in the special session. You made our life easier for the next several months, or, you know, or a phone call, and that's good, because it's county. And so I would just say the same to all of you. You know, don't answer or send me an email if if you haven't heard back from me in about 24 hours. Just ding me back and just say, hey, what about this? But I mean, I want to communicate with you as much as you want to have communication with me.
Well, I'll concur on that. Different things are different priorities, so sometimes it's bubble up a little bit faster. And so sometimes there's more county issues going on, sometimes there's more city issues. And I've had some very good conversations with Director Maxwell over there since she's taken office, and a lot of you all have always reached out. What I'll say is I think our end goal for everybody, whether you're Republican or Democrat, sometimes the road looks a little different. But for the most part, everybody's end goal is to make Tennessee a better place for education and make our students prepared to go to college, technical school, or go get a job. That's the same goal, and I think we all have that goal. We just have different approaches on how to get there sometimes. And so even if there's something there, and whether you like it, don't like it, please just reach out and let us know. We're not going to have any hard feelings. And so one of the things I tell all the chairmen that's in the House is their goal is to work with members if they can make what they're wanting to do better. If it's a bill that we can't support and you can't do, so be it. But if someone has a good idea and the execution's not right, let's figure out how to make the execution right, Republican or Democrat. And so I think as long as we keep that mentality of the open communication, and when we disagree, we disagree, and when we agree, we agree. I think if Washington did that, they wouldn't be as polarized as they are now, because you don't have people who are willing to even go out and have lunch with one another, what it's like up there. So as long as we're able to continue to work through these instances, we'll be good. And if you don't have problems with what we did in literacy or learning loss, it's okay to express those. If there's things that we need to fix, please let us know. If there's things that we're doing good, please let us know. And I'll just say, more times than not, we hear from people who are telling us what we're doing is not right, or this is bad, or y'all don't understand, which is perfectly fine, but also be good when something does go right to kind of send those as well as we kind of go through. But if something is bad and you have an idea, please let us know if we can fix it, or if it needs to be shelved, or whatever that is. And that goes for teachers as well. I mean, at the end, we want the teachers to have the resources and the pay to do the job that they need to in the classroom. And we want you all to have the capability to do that as a board, to help them do that in the classroom, based on what the families in Cumberland County are wanting to achieve. And that's our goal, and hopefully we can all get there together.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Timpson?
I just have a comment. I know Governor Ron DeSantis is the rock star right now on the Republican side of the news. But Governor Lee's been excellent, and we very much are very grateful to him for allowing us to have schools. And all of you too, because it takes your support for him to do his job. So we do appreciate that. As a teacher, I'm glad to be in school with kids.
Well, the nice thing about Governor Lee is a couple things. One is, when he makes a decision, he doesn't make it because he thinks politically it's the right thing. He really does have a filter of, should this happen or not? It's not a political, that's not how he thinks when he's making decisions, which is very refreshing. Now, sometimes that will make both sides mad because they want him to do something political, but he really does make decisions based on what he thinks is best. And so whether you agree or disagree, you still have to have some respect for an elected official, especially the governor who uses that approach. I think the second thing is if you would have told us when he was elected, usually that first year is your toughest. If you had told us after that first year, as you're supposed to get your feet on the ground and you're able to handle it, you start with tornadoes, you start with flooding a couple of times, you move into a pandemic all in the same year, and then you're faced with everything else that's going on, the bombing, and it's just a continuation. And so for him to kind of navigate us through this, I think he's done a tremendous job of trying to keep our state open, trying to keep people safe, but allow you to, as adults, make the decisions that you feel comfortable with based on the risk that you know that's out there, right? And that's the way it should work. And that, I think when you look at where the state is, we're only one of 7 states, get this, we're one of 7 states in America that has seen positive growth economically since March of last year to right now. One of 7. And that takes a lot of work because you look at Californians and New Yorks and other places and they shut down and they're having to raise taxes or they're having to do things. So we made it through the pandemic as a state. We did have to raise taxes. We did make some cuts. We actually reduced taxes during the pandemic. We increased funding in various things. And we've come out of 2020 and now we have, and we didn't use any rainy day fund and we took some hits for not using rainy day, but if you don't have to use it, then you shouldn't have to use it, right? You shouldn't use your savings account if you don't think you need to. It's there in case of emergency. Same thing as we did. And now in this year, we have about $1 billion surplus. And so in all the rural areas are doing good, and the 2 main economic drivers in our state, Davis and Shelby County, are not doing well. But we're still positive growth without our 2 biggest economic drivers in the state being there. The only thing we have to watch out for, if you want to know what we're thinking is, as we're looking to this budget year and the next budget year, as much money as Washington is sending out, there is a false sense of spending in the economy. And when that money runs out, does the economy go down a little bit? That affects you. So us being cautious, even with the $1 billion surplus, is us wanting to make sure when the Fed money leaves, that we're not held with a lot of recurring expenses that we have to figure out what to do with. And the second thing we have to watch is inflation. Because when there's this much money in the economy, there is a lot of talk about inflation going up, which does harm your economy as well. So everything looks good, but we're still cautiously optimistic.
Speaker Sexton, you just spoke to what we have internally as we are preparing our ESSER 2.0 application, and we're grateful for the extension of the deadline that the state gave us because everything is coming due March 1st. So March 15th was very welcome. We've done our needs assessment. We had focus groups, our principals did. We're trying to be very deliberate and precise in how we spend that in the buckets that the federal government addressed with learning loss and facilities. But we're also trying to be very mindful that this is non-recurring money and that we do not want to set up this board or future boards or our district in a situation because these are non-recurring funds. So we've got to try to make the best use of those funds that we are most grateful for. We really appreciate that we can use it collectively for our entire district. Very rarely do we ever receive funds where we can use with non-Title I schools. And so we're grateful for the less restrictions, if you will, from the federal government. But I know exactly what you're saying there.
If I may just touch on a little bit in regards to Speaker Sexton, in meeting with Commissioner Rolfe, who is Commissioner of Economic and Community Development in the state, during the past year, we have had so many businesses and big businesses to small businesses. Look at the state of Tennessee. from all across our nation wanting to relocate here. And they're making investments anywhere from $1 billion to $1 million. So it's very diverse in what these businesses want to do. One of the things that Commissioner Rolfe did mention to me this week, and it goes back to our earlier discussion in making sure that our students get back in the classroom and get an education, is we've got to make sure that we have an educated workforce to be able to go into these new businesses that are coming to Tennessee. So, you know, not everyone's going to go to a 4-year college or university. They're going to go to your trade schools and TCATs and so forth. But again, education is so important, and those companies want to make sure, and some have even mentioned the reason that they came and looked at Tennessee was the fact that we were continuing to press our school districts to open up, get opened up safely, and get our students back in classroom so that we don't have that learning loss. So you are, I'm going to say in some ways, ground zero as far as our future workforce, because they're wanting to make sure if they locate a $1 billion business in the state of Tennessee, that we're going to be able to provide them an education that will be there, and these are very well-paying jobs, you know, most all of them that are looking at Tennessee now. So again, I go back and just reiterate that it's education has been on the minds of manufacturers and businesses looking at Tennessee, and they've seen how Tennessee has continued to make sure that their schools are open and those students aren't having a lot of learning loss.
And as I follow up on that, if you look at West Tennessee, here on the county level here pretty soon, if you look at West Tennessee, the population of West Tennessee has decreased in every single county west of Jackson. Every single county. If you look at DeSoto County and Marshall County in Mississippi, DeSoto County, which is just south of Memphis, the most northern county in Mississippi, they've gone from 67,000 people to 190,000 people. And so you have all these businesses relocating, big industries coming into those two counties. They want to be in West Tennessee, but we're not ready to handle those companies. We were way back in the day, but there's competition, especially when you have multiple states that surround you. Competition is a little different. Number one issue, we have a mega site in West Tennessee, 1,000 acres, good piece of property. We can add the infrastructure, but the number one holdup of any business wanting to even just look at the mega site, there's not a workforce. And so if you don't handle your workforce, you're not going to get people to even come look at a mega site, which would change the entire West Tennessee. Because what's happening is, as all those people are moving, because all the jobs are going north of Mississippi, because of infrastructure needs to a certain degree, but there's just not a workforce there in West Tennessee to handle something big that comes in to the senator's point.
Mr. Sassy?
Could you try to bring in maybe not a mega force, but maybe a small business with 600 employees in Cumberland County? That would be nice. We can educate them. I promise you, between Tennessee Tech, Roane State, and the Cumberland County school system, and CTAT, we can provide that education. Now, let me tell you something about a little bit away from education, but not too much. I am a member of the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System. I want to thank you all. The retirement system, I don't know how it compares to other states, but I look at Tennessee's investment strategy for keeping that retirement money stable and with increases, just a blessing. So thank you. And the third thing I'd like to bring up is one other thing about chronic absenteeism. You know that it was forced on the school systems through the Department of Education. At least that's what I heard. Okay, now I may be wrong, and if I am wrong, then I do apologize to you all. But it included a penalty. I just don't understand what school system was not aware of chronic absenteeism. We all knew it was a problem. And we were all, as far as I know, we were all working on that problem through talking to other school boards. And then to have the Department of Education impose a penalty and redefine what chronic absenteeism was extremely unfair. So I thank you.
Well, I'll just say that in regards to our state retirement system, I believe we're in the top 5 in the nation as far as best run retirement systems, and that goes back several years, but especially in the last 12 years that we have, the General Assembly and the administration has seen how important that it is that we make sure that our retirement system is fully funded. So that is, I mean, you're spot on right there. I'll let Cameron answer the second part of your question.
I mentioned to the governor of the day, as we were talking about West Tennessee Makes that we do have the Plateau Partnership up here, and rail access and some other things that could really help this area up here. I think the other thing, if you look at the governor's budget, it's a little east of us, but I think long-term dividends pay is we have Oak Ridge National Labs an hour away from here, who has been functioning against Los Alamos and Research Triangle with a fourth of the funding level and competing. And so University of Tennessee and Oak Ridge National Labs now have they're under UT technically, but now they're working to such a degree that we put in $8 million into the budget. That pulls down 7-to-1 match from the Fed, so $50 million. We need to do a little bit more to get us into the science area to recruit scientists to come into East Tennessee and start doing the research that all these other places are doing. And I think that gives us an opportunity to bring in more scientists, which we desperately need in our state because we have shortage of science teachers, first of all, but people to get excited and that sort of stuff. So I think there's a lot of great things happening in our state, and there's a lot of businesses looking to move here. But that will transform that whole Southeast technology corridor for us and hopefully expand out over time as we bring in more and more people into our state. So, you know, I think Tennessee's positioned very well right now to compete on a national level for a state our size against other states and really become something that we haven't seen in a long, long time.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, Speaker Sexton and Senator Bailey, we are very happy that you came by to see us, and we appreciate everything that you do. And just know that we're here working hard in Cumberland County. Our faculty and staff, they give it 110% every day, and the school board has been very helpful in helping us through the pandemic this year. We've faced challenges, but we have turned those challenges into opportunities, and that's our goal. Our motto this year is striving for excellence together, and we're on the path, and we're going to make as many opportunities out of the challenges that we face day in and day out as we can. We're here to help you, and we appreciate your openness. Mr. Inman, I will turn the meeting back over to you.
I don't have anything else. Well, the last time I made a motion, I had and vote. Well, thank you again for everybody attending today, all the board members that were on Zoom, as well as board members that were here. And thank you, gentlemen, for being here with us again. We really appreciate it. And I'm very serious. If there's ever anything we can do to help you, just please let us know. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We got a motion to say. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, aye. See y'all. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah, the other night, I said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn, and all of a sudden, the system says, we're gone or something like that. I can't.
The whole thing shut
Yeah,
down.
everything shut down.
Hey,